The message came through WhatsApp while I was sitting in a refugee camp outside Nairobi, helping distribute medical supplies. After 3 months without reliable internet, I finally had enough signal to download my messages. Hey sis, great news, sold the family beach house for $2 million. Thanks for being abroad and making this easy. Already transferred mom's stuff to storage. Enjoy Africa, Derek. I stared at the screen, the heat of the Kenyan sun suddenly feeling cold against my skin. Our family beach house, the one our grandmother left specifically to me, sold. My hands shook as I scrolled through the earlier messages I'd missed. Cleaning out the beach house. So many memories. Found a buyer. They love the vintage details. Closing next week. Mom's stuff will be safe. The most recent message was a photo of Derek holding a champagne glass on what looked like a new yacht. Captioned, "Living the dream." I tried calling him. No answer. I tried the family lawyer. Disconnected. I even tried calling the beach house landline. The number had been reassigned. Dr. Morgan? One of the nurses touched my shoulder. Are you alright? Family emergency. I managed. I need to get home. But the vaccination program. I'll be back. I promised. Already pulling up flight websites on my phone. This can't wait. 42 hours later, I landed at LAX. Exhausted, unshowered, and furious. I'd tried reaching Derek dozens of times during layovers. His phone went straight to voicemail. His social media showed him partying in Cabo. I drove my rental car straight to the beach house in Malibu. My grandmother's house. My house. The one place that had always felt like home. A construction crew was tearing out the front deck. "Excuse me," I called out, parking haphazardly. "What's happening here?" A man in a hard hat approached. "Ma'am, this is a closed construction site. The new owners." "I'm the owner," I said firmly. "This is my house." He looked confused. "The Washingtons bought this property 6 weeks ago. They hired us for renovations." "The Washingtons?" My mind raced. "Can I speak with them?" "They're in Milan, but I can call the project manager." 20 minutes later, a woman in her 50s arrived in a Tesla, looking concerned. "I'm Patricia Washington. There seems to be some confusion? My brother sold you this house," I said, trying to stay calm, "but he didn't own it." "I do." Patricia's face went pale. "That's impossible. We paid $2 million. We have all the paperwork." "Paperwork signed by Derek Morgan?" I asked. "Not Elena Morgan?" The seller was Derek Morgan. "Yes. He said he inherited it from his grandmother." "Can I see the documents?" Patricia hesitated, then made a call. "Our lawyer will meet us at the house in an hour. This is concerning." While we waited, I pulled up documents on my phone, my grandmother's will, the deed transfer, tax records, everything backed up to the cloud. Thank God for digital copies. "This house has been in my name for 6 years," I explained. "My grandmother left it to me specifically, not to the family, not to my brother, to me." But Derek had keys, knew the history, showed us family photos. "Because he's my brother, he visited." "But visiting doesn't make you the owner." The Washington's lawyer arrived, a sharp-dressed man named Harrison who looked increasingly uncomfortable as he reviewed my documents. "Mrs. Washington," he said slowly, "I'm afraid Ms. Morgan is correct. The deed has always been in her name. These signatures, they're forgeries." Patricia sank into a patio chair. "We've been defrauded?" "It appears so," Harrison confirmed. "We need to contact the authorities immediately." 2 hours later, I sat in the Malibu Sheriff's Station giving my statement. Detective Rivera took notes while shaking her head. "Your brother took advantage of you being overseas with limited communication," she summarized. "Forged your signature, created fake documents, and sold property he didn't own. He knew I was in Kenya for Doctors Without Borders," I said. "I go every year for 3 months. He planned this. We'll put out a warrant for his arrest. Do you know where he might be?" I pulled up his Instagram. "Cabo San Lucas. Apparently, living it up on the Washington's money." "Not for long," Rivera assured me. Patricia Washington and her husband Robert were devastated but surprisingly understanding. We met the next day at a coffee shop to discuss the situation. "We should have been more careful," Robert admitted, "but Derek was so convincing. He knew every detail about the house, the family history." "He would," I said. "We spent summers there as kids. Grandma lived there year-round. It was her pride and joy." "Why did she leave it only to you?" Patricia asked gently. I smiled sadly. "Because I was the only one who visited her. Derek came for the beach parties. My sister came when she needed money. I came to spend time with Grandma. Every weekend I could manage during med school." She said I was the only one who loved the house for the memories, not the real estate value. She was right about Derek. "Apparently," Robert said grimly. "I'm sorry you're caught in this," I said. "I know your victims too. We'll get our money back." Patricia said. Or most of it. Our lawyer says we can go after Derek civilly as well as the criminal charges. But this is your family, this must be devastating. It was, but not entirely surprising. Derek had always been the golden child who could do no wrong. Charming, handsome, perpetually broke despite our parents' generosity. He'd started multiple businesses with family money, each one failing spectacularly, but he always had an excuse, always had a new scheme. Just a small loan. He'd say, I'm good for it. I'd stopped lending him money after he'd borrowed my car in college and sold it, claiming it was stolen. Our parents had believed him, they always believed him. Your brother played the long game, Detective Rivera told me when she called with an update. He started laying groundwork months ago, told neighbors you'd decided to sell, had mail forwarded, even filed a fake power of attorney. He's always been a planner, I admitted, just usually for smaller cons. Well, he's graduated to felony fraud. Mexican authorities picked him up. He's being extradited. The next few weeks were a blur of legal procedures, paperwork, and difficult conversations. The house sale was voided. Fraudulent transactions have no legal standing. The Washingtons got most of their money back from the escrow that hadn't been released yet, though Derek had blown through about $400,000 in his 6-week spending spree. The worst part was calling our mother. There must be a mistake, she insisted. Derek would never. He's not capable of. Mom, he forged my signature. He sold my house. He's in jail. But he said you agreed. He said you didn't want it anymore. That Africa had changed your perspective on material things. And you believed him? Without talking to me? Silence. Then, he's always been so persuasive. He's always been a liar. Mom, you just never wanted to see it. The family imploded. My sister, Kara, called from New York, furious, not at Derek, but at me. You had him arrested? Your own brother? He committed fraud. Kara, he stole a $2 million property. It's just a house. Family is more important than property. Then why did he steal it? She hung up on me. But the most interesting call came from someone unexpected, Derek's ex-girlfriend, Tanya. I saw the news, she said. I'm sorry this happened, but I'm not surprised. Elena, there's something you should know. This isn't his first time. What do you mean? Remember his business partner, Jean? The one who supposedly embezzled from their startup? Yeah, Derek lost everything in that deal. No, Tanya said firmly. Derek framed Jean, forged his signature on withdrawals, cooked the books. Jean was too proud to fight it, just walked away. But Derek bragged about it when he was drunk. Said Jean was too trusting, too naive. Why didn't you say anything? Would your family have believed me? The ex-girlfriend with an axe to grind? Besides, Derek threatened me, said he'd ruin my career if I talked. Would you testify now? Absolutely. Jean would too. He's got evidence he never used. The trial was set for 6 months later. In the meantime, I moved back into the beach house, though it felt different now. Violated. The Washingtons had started renovations based on false ownership, and I had to decide what to do about the changes. Keep them, Patricia suggested when she stopped by. We designed them with love for this house. Even if we can't live here, consider it our apology for the mess. You have nothing to apologize for, I said. You were victims too. Still, we should have verified better. Our eagerness to own a piece of Malibu history made us sloppy. I learned more about my brother's lies in those months. He told the Washingtons that I was a trust fund kid playing doctor in Africa, that I'd begged him to handle the sale because the house held painful memories, that our grandmother would have wanted the house to go to a family who'd appreciate it. He even cried, Robert told me, said it was breaking his heart to let it go, but he knew we'd take care of it. Oscar-worthy performance, I muttered. Apparently so. He should have stuck to acting instead of fraud. The trial was brutal. Derek, tanned and in an orange jumpsuit, played the victim. His lawyer painted me as a vindictive sister jealous of her charismatic brother. The family dysfunction was laid bare for public consumption. But the evidence was overwhelming. The forged signatures, the fake documents, Jin's testimony about the previous fraud, Tanya's recordings of Derek bragging about his schemes. The worst moment came when prosecutors played a voicemail Derek had left for a friend. Elena's been in Africa for 2 months. No cell service, no internet. By the time she gets back, I'll be in the Caymans with enough money to last forever. She'll never even know until it's too late. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced Derek to 8 years in prison and ordered full restitution. Our mother sobbed. Kara stormed out. I sat quietly, feeling nothing but exhaustion. You did the right thing, Patricia Washington told me outside the courthouse. He would have kept escalating. Next time someone might have lost more than money. She was right. The investigation had uncovered other victims' elderly neighbors Derek had charmed into investments, a local charity he'd skimmed from while volunteering, a girlfriend whose credit cards he'd stolen. Your brother is a predator, Detective Rivera told me. He just uses charm instead of violence. I returned to Kenya 2 months after the trial, back to the refugee camp, back to work that mattered. But first, I made one important stop. I visited Derek in prison. Come to gloat? He asked, his usual charm replaced with bitterness. No, come to understand. Why, Derek? You could have just asked. I'd have helped you. Helped? He laughed bitterly. Like you helped before? With your lectures about responsibility? Your disappointment? No thanks, sis. I wanted what was mine. The house was never yours. It should have been. He slammed his hand on the table. I'm the oldest, the son, but Grandma always loved you more. Perfect Elena with her medical degree and her humanitarian work. She loved me because I loved her, not her assets. Easy to say when you got the assets anyway. I studied my brother, still handsome, still arrogant, still unable to see his own faults. The beach house is being turned into a retreat for doctors with PTSD, I said quietly. Free housing for medical professionals who need to heal. Grandma would have loved that. Derek's face twisted. You're giving it away? A $2 million property? I'm using it to help people. Like she used it to help us, to give us somewhere safe, somewhere beautiful. That's what you never understood, Derek. It was never about the money. Everything's about money, he said flatly. No, I stood to leave. That's why you're in here and I'm not. I walked out and didn't look back. Some family you're born into, some family you choose. And sometimes, protecting yourself from the family you're born into is the healthiest choice you can make. The beach house reopened 6 months later as the Rose Morgan Healing Center, named for our grandmother. Doctors, nurses, and EMTs suffering from burnout or trauma could stay for free, finding peace in the ocean views and therapy programs. At the dedication, Patricia Washington cut the ribbon. She and Robert had become major donors, their near loss transforming into purpose. Your grandmother would be proud, Patricia said. You've turned something ugly into something beautiful. As I watched the first residents arrive, exhausted healers needing healing themselves, I thought about family. Derek was serving his time, unrepentant. Mom still sent him care packages and insisted he was misunderstood. Kara had blocked my number. But here, in Grandma's house, a new kind of family was forming, one based on service, on healing, on using privilege to help others. Derek had tried to steal $2 million. Instead, he'd freed me to create something worth so much more. The sheriff had been right to arrest him mid-celebration. He'd been living the dream. He just never understood whose dream it really was.
The message notification chirped just as I finished my morning coffee. Another group text from Mom, probably about Delilah's wedding. I ignored it, but 3 more pings followed in rapid succession. With a sigh, I opened my phone. Girls, we need to discuss wedding expenses. Family meeting tonight. Mandatory. I'm Rosalind, and I already knew exactly where this was heading. At 29, I'd perfected the art of being the responsible daughter, the human ATM my family turned to whenever money got tight, which was always. My sister Delilah responded instantly with a string of heart emojis. Can't wait. Terry's parents are expecting something really special, I typed, and deleted 3 different responses before settling on, what time? 7 p.m. sharp. Don't be late like last time, Rosalind, Mom replied. I arrived at 6:55, parking my decade-old Honda next to Delilah's shiny new SUV, the one I'd co-signed for last year when her credit wasn't quite there yet. There's my responsible girl, Dad called from the porch, beer in hand. His smile didn't quite reach his eyes. Inside, Mom was arranging cheese and crackers like this was a casual social gathering rather than what I knew it would be, an ambush. Delilah sat cross-legged on the couch, scrolling through her phone, barely looking up. So, Mom started once we were all seated, we've been crunching numbers for the wedding. I took a slow sip of water. And? Well, you know Terry's family is established, Mom continued, exchanging glances with Dad. We can't have them thinking we're not able to provide a proper wedding. Define proper, I said. Delilah finally looked up. We found the perfect venue, the Hamilton House. It's gorgeous, Roz, like a fairy tale. And expensive, I added, already feeling my stomach clench. That's why we're family. Mom said, reaching for my hand. I pulled back slightly. We support each other. You're single, no kids, no mortgage. Because I've been paying yours, I cut in. The room went silent. Dad suddenly became very interested in his beer label. That was temporary, Mom snapped, and we're grateful. But this is different. This is your sister's special day? Delilah leaned forward, eyes wide. The venue deposit is $40,000, but that includes catering. I choked on my water. $40,000? Are you insane? Don't be dramatic, Mom said. We're not asking for all of it. Just the deposit and maybe the dress. $25,000? Tops. The room started spinning slightly. I thought about my own savings account, the small apartment I'd been eyeing, the chance to finally have something of my own. I can't, I said quietly. Can't or won't? Mom's voice turned sharp. After everything we've done for you? I laughed, a harsh sound that surprised even me. Everything you've done for me? Like spending my college fund or making me cover Dad's medical bills last year? That's not fair, Dad muttered. No, what's not fair is, it's your duty as family. Mom's voice rose to a shriek. Don't be selfish, Rosalind. Don't you dare be selfish now. I stood up, my hands shaking. I need to think about it. What's there to think about? Delilah whined. It's just money. You always have money. I grabbed my purse and headed for the door. Behind me, Mom called out, We need an answer by Friday. The venue won't hold without a deposit. In my car, I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. My phone buzzed. A text from my best friend Jade. How'd it go? I stared at the screen for a long moment, something cold and calculated settling in my chest. Finally, I typed back, They want me to pay for the wedding, $25,000. Jade's response was immediate. Tell them to go to hell. I started the car, a plan already forming in my mind. Oh, I'll give them a gift, I whispered to myself. I'll give them something they'll never forget. My phone buzzed again. Mom. Remember, family comes first, always. I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Yes, I said to the empty car. Family comes first, and it's time for a family reckoning. I'll do it, I announced at breakfast with my family 3 days later. The words tasted like vinegar. Mom nearly dropped her coffee cup. Really? Oh, sweetheart, I knew you'd come around. Delilah squealed and launched herself at me, nearly knocking over the syrup. I knew you wouldn't let me down. You're the best big sister ever. I forced a smile, patting her back. Just let me figure out some things with my savings first. Take your time, Dad said, suddenly generous now that I'd agreed. The venue needs the deposit by the end of the month. Back at my apartment that evening, I pulled out an old leather-bound notebook I'd kept since college. Inside were meticulous records of every loan my family had taken from me. I opened my laptop and started creating a spreadsheet. 2018, Dad's emergency gallbladder surgery, $12,000, 2019, Mom's temporary mortgage help, $18,000, 2020, Delilah's defaulted student loans, $22,000. The list went on and on. My phone buzzed, Jade calling. Please tell me you didn't actually agree to this wedding nonsense, she said without preamble. Come over. I need your help with something. 20 minutes later, Jade sat on my couch, staring at my spreadsheet in horror. Holy shit, Roz. This is over $100,000. $147,000 to be exact, I said, typing in another entry. And that's not counting the emotional labor. The what now? I pulled up another document. Hours spent babysitting Delilah when Mom was too stressed. Time taken off work to drive Dad to medical appointments. Every crisis I've talked them through. Jade leaned back, understanding dawning on her face. You're not actually giving them the wedding money, are you? Oh, I'm giving them something, I smiled. Just not what they're expecting. Roz, Jade's voice held a warning note. What are you planning? Before I could answer, my phone chimed. A text from Delilah. Found the perfect dress. Only 8,000, Hala. When can you come see it? I showed Jade the message. She whistled. They're parasites, you know that, right? If you give them this now, they'll take your soul next. Trust me, I said, adding the dress to my spreadsheet. I'm going to give them exactly what they deserve. The next week was a blur of wedding preparations. I played my part perfectly. The supportive big sister, the dutiful daughter. I attended dress fittings, nodded at venue tours, smiled at florist appointments. You're being so reasonable about everything, Mom gushed over lunch. I was worried you'd be difficult. I've had time to think about what family really means, I replied, watching her face carefully. About giving and taking, about what we owe each other. That's very mature of you, she said, reaching for the check. Oh, would you mind? I pulled out my credit card, adding the $47 lunch to my growing list. That evening, I met with Raphael, the wedding videographer Delilah had hired. I want to make sure you capture everything, I told him, especially during the reception speeches. Don't worry, he assured me. I never miss a moment. Back home, I opened my laptop and started typing. Dear family, for years, you've called me blessed because I had no children, no mortgage, no major expenses. You never asked why. You never questioned where my money went. Well, I've kept track, every dollar, every favor, every sacrifice. And now it's time for an accounting. My phone buzzed. Mom again. Don't forget, we need the venue deposit by Friday. I closed my laptop and pulled out my phone, typing quickly. Don't worry, everything's been arranged. You'll get exactly what you deserve. Jade texted moments later. Still coming over to help me with that project tomorrow? Yes, I replied. Bring that nice paper you used for your sister's wedding invitations and a calculator. I walked to my window, looking out at the city lights. In my reflection, I barely recognized myself. The constant worry lines had smoothed out. The perpetual anxious smile was replaced by something calmer, more determined. My phone chimed one last time. Delilah? You're the best sister ever. Can't wait to see what you're getting us for the wedding. I picked up my notebook titled Reckoning and whispered to the empty room. Oh, you'll see. You'll all see. The roses have to be blush pink, not regular pink, Delilah snapped at the florist. My sister's paying for this. We can afford the premium blooms. I sat in the corner of the flower shop, quietly adding another line to my notes app. The florist shot me a sympathetic look. And we'll need twice as many centerpieces, Delilah continued. The Hamilton house has such high ceilings, everything needs to be grand. My phone buzzed, a calendar reminder for my apartment viewing later, the one I'd have to cancel if I actually paid for this circus. Roz, are you even listening? Delilah waved her hand in front of my face. The florist needs your card. Right here, I smiled, handing it over. Another $3,200 added to the tally. At the mandatory family brunch the next day, Delilah was practically vibrating with excitement. Terry, her fiancé, actually deigned to join us this time, though he spent most of it on his phone. So, Delilah announced, clinking her mimosa glass, we've made an executive decision about the venue. Mom beamed. Tell them, sweetheart. We're upgrading to the full weekend package, Delilah squealed. It includes the rehearsal dinner, the spa day, and a farewell brunch. It's only an extra $40,000. I set down my fork carefully. Excuse me? Well, Terry's parents are hosting such elaborate events for their other son's wedding. Mom jumped in. We can't look. Less than. Less than what? I asked. Bankrupt? Don't be dramatic, Dad said, finally speaking up. We've been thinking, and it's only fair. We spent your college fund on Delilah's private school years ago. This would help balance things out. The restaurant seemed to go quiet around me. You did what? It was for the best, Mom said quickly. You were always so independent, so capable, and look how well you turned out. Yeah, Roz, Delilah added. You're like totally successful now. This is nothing for you. I stood up slowly. I need some air. Outside, I leaned against the brick wall, taking deep breaths. My phone buzzed. A text from Natalia, Delilah's maid of honor. Hey, need help with the wedding speech? I have some interesting stories. No thanks, I typed back. I've got something special planned. Back inside, everyone was acting like nothing had happened. Terry was showing Delilah something on his phone, probably more overpriced wedding extras. We need your final answer about the venue upgrade, Mom said as I sat down. They won't hold it forever. I looked at each of their faces. Mom's practiced concern, Dad's studied indifference, Delilah's entitled expectation, Terry's complete disinterest. Of course, I said softly. I'll make sure my gift is memorable. That evening, I met Jade at our usual bar. She listened as I recounted the brunch conversation, her expression growing darker with each detail. They spent your college fund? She exploded. That's why you had to work full-time through school? I nodded, sipping my wine. Apparently, I was independent enough to handle it. And now they want you to pay for Princess Bridezilla's fantasy weekend? Jade shook her head. Please tell me your plan involves public humiliation. Let's just say, I smiled, I'm giving them exactly what they asked for, an accounting of everything they've taken. My phone lit up with texts. Delilah, found the perfect spa packages, sending you the link. Mom, don't forget to check on those venue upgrades tomorrow. Dad, your mother's worried about the timing. Call her. I silenced my phone and pulled out my notebook. Want to help me calculate compound interest? Jade grinned. On everything they've taken? Girl, they're not ready for that math. Later that night, I sat in my apartment, finalizing the details of my gift. My phone buzzed one last time. Mom again. Remember, you're the example as the older sister. Don't let us down. I added the message screenshot to my growing file and whispered to myself, Don't worry, Mom. I'll show them exactly what kind of example I can be. The next morning, I called the venue. Hi, this is Rosalind, Delilah's sister. I'm handling the payments. I paused, smiling into the phone. Yes, we'll take the full weekend package. And could you make sure there's a good sound system for the reception speeches? I have something special planned. This could be all yours, the realtor said, gesturing around the small but sunny apartment. It's a perfect starter home for a single professional. I ran my hand along the kitchen counter, imagining my coffee maker in the corner, my books on the built-in shelves. The windows faced east. Morning light would fill the space. The deposit is $15,000, she continued. With your credit score, you'd easily qualify for the mortgage. $15,000. Less than what they wanted for Delilah's dress alone. How long can you hold it? I asked. There's another viewing this afternoon, she replied. In this market, I'd decide quickly. Back in my car, I called Jade. I'm going to do it. The apartment? What about the wedding money? They can have their wedding gift, or I can have my freedom. I started the engine. I'm choosing freedom. At the bank, I transferred the deposit money before I could second-guess myself. The banker smiled as she handed me the receipt. Congratulations on your first home. My phone buzzed immediately. Mom. I ignored it and drove to work, feeling lighter than I had in weeks. That evening, someone pounded on my apartment door. I opened it to find Mom, face flushed with anger. The realtor is my friend Sandra's cousin, she spat. How dare you? I stepped aside, letting her storm in. How dare I what? Buy an apartment? You committed to helping with the wedding. Now you're spending money on yourself? It's my money, I said quietly. I earned it. We're your family. She paced my small living room. We've given you everything. Given me? I laughed. You took my college fund. You took my savings. You took my 20s. You're being melodramatic. She stopped pacing. Cancel the purchase. The wedding is more important. No. The word hung between us. Mom's face went very still. No? she whispered. After everything we've done for you? I said no. She grabbed her purse. You're selfish, cold-hearted. I didn't raise you to be like this. You didn't raise me at all, I replied. I raised myself and Delilah and kept you and Dad afloat. If you do this, she said, hand on the doorknob, don't expect to be welcome in this family anymore. I smiled, thinking of my notebook full of calculations. You're right. I should get them something special instead. I'll deliver it myself at the reception. After she left, I called Jade. It's done. I bought the apartment. How'd your mom take it? About as well as expected. I opened my laptop. Want to help me format some spreadsheets? The next day, Delilah showed up at my office during lunch. Mom's crying, she announced, dropping into the chair across from my desk. How could you buy an apartment when you knew I needed you? Needed my money, you mean? She flinched. That's not fair. You're my sister. You're supposed to support me. And who's supposed to support me? Don't be dramatic, she said, echoing Mom. It's just money. You always have money. Because I work for it, I replied. Because I save it. Because I don't spend it on $40,000 parties. It's my wedding. She stood up, hands on my desk. The most important day of my life. And this is my life, I gestured around me. The one I built while carrying all of you. You're just jealous, she snapped, because I'm getting married and you're alone. I looked at her, really looked at her. My little sister, who I'd helped with homework, covered for with our parents, rescued from bad dates. Now a stranger demanding her pound of flesh. Get out of my office, Delilah. Mom's right, she said, heading for the door. You are cold-hearted. After she left, I opened my reckoning file and added one more entry. Emotional manipulation, wedding edition. That evening, I sat in my soon-to-be apartment, empty except for my presence and possibility. My phone lit up with texts. Dad. Your mother's devastated. Fix this. Delilah. I hate you. You're ruining everything. Mom. Family means sacrifice. You've forgotten that. I opened my laptop and typed, Dear family, you're right. I have forgotten what sacrifice means. Let me remind you. The cursor blinked, waiting for the rest of my words. Outside, the sun set on my new beginning. My phone buzzed again. Jade. Still want help with that special wedding gift? I smiled, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Yes, it's time to start calculating interest. So, what's the real story with you and Delilah? Natalia asked, stirring her martini. We sat in a dimly lit bar, 3 days before the wedding. I raised an eyebrow. Shouldn't the maid of honor be on the bride's side? Please, she scoffed. I've known Delilah since college. She's been insufferable since Terry proposed. Yesterday she made me redo my speech because it didn't mention her natural grace enough times. I couldn't help but laugh. Sounds like her. Speaking of speeches, Natalia leaned forward. What are you planning? Because that smile you've been wearing lately, it's kind of terrifying. Let's just say my speech will be memorable. Good. She drained her glass. I'm tired of her acting superior just because her fiancé's family has money. Money she's making you spend, by the way. My phone buzzed. Delilah. Emergency! The florist messed up. Need you at the venue now. Duty calls, I sighed, gathering my things. That wedding speech of yours, Natalia called after me. You better make it count. Oh, it will. At the venue, Delilah was berating a tired-looking florist about the shade of pink in the rose arrangements. These are salmon. I specifically said blush. She turned to me. Roz, tell her. They look fine, I said. Fine? Delilah's voice rose. It's my wedding. Nothing can be just fine. Then you handle it, I replied, turning to leave. Where are you going? Mom said you'd help with everything. I'm helping plenty, I said quietly. More than you know. That evening, Jade came over with craft supplies and wine. We spread everything across my floor. Expensive paper, gold leaf, a leather portfolio. This is some serious presentation, Jade said, watching me arrange papers. "You sure about this?" They wanted an expensive gift. I carefully placed another statement in the portfolio. "They're getting one." My phone lit up with texts. Mom, "Delilah's crying about the flowers. Fix it." Dad, "Don't upset your sister before her big day." Delilah, "You're the worst sister ever." I silenced my phone and continued working. The next morning at the rehearsal dinner, everyone was talking about the wedding. Terry's parents kept making subtle comments about the cost. "Of course, our Marcus had a much larger venue," Terry's mother said, "but this is charming." "Oh, we've upgraded everything," Mom rushed to say. "Rosalind's handling all the expenses." "How generous," Terry's father said, eyeing my simple dress. During dinner, Delilah clinked her glass. "I just want to thank everyone, especially my amazing sister, for making this possible. Family is everything." I smiled and raised my glass. Under the table, my other hand gripped my notebook. Later, I found Dad alone on the terrace. "You've been quiet," he said. "Just thinking about family, about debts and obligations." He shifted uncomfortably. "About that college fund." "Don't worry," I cut him off. "Everything will be settled at the reception." The night before the wedding, I sat in my new apartment, still empty except for a single chair and my laptop. The leather portfolio lay finished on the floor, wrapped in silk ribbon. Jade called, "Final chance to back out." "No turning back now." "Good," she said. "They deserve everything they're about to get." My phone buzzed with a final text from Mom. "Remember your speech tomorrow. Keep it loving and appropriate." I picked up the portfolio, running my fingers over the embossed cover. Inside was every receipt, every bank statement, every documented sacrifice I'd made for my family. Years of financial abuse and emotional manipulation, beautifully bound and ready for presentation. "Let's raise a glass to karma," I whispered to the empty room. A text from Natalia lit up my phone. "Whatever you're planning tomorrow, I've got your back, and I've made sure the videographer knows to keep rolling during the speeches." I smiled, placing the portfolio in its gift box. Tomorrow, they'd learn the true cost of taking me for granted. Tomorrow, they'd finally get their accounting. My phone buzzed one last time. Delilah. "Can't wait for your speech tomorrow. Love you, sis." I tied the silk ribbon around the box and whispered, "Oh, you'll love this gift. I promise." The Hamilton house glittered with thousands of fairy lights. Guests milled around in designer outfits, sipping champagne that cost more than my first car. I sat at my assigned table, the gift box resting beside me like a ticking bomb. "You look calm," Jade whispered, taking her seat next to me. "Too calm." I've never been clearer about anything in my life. Mom floated by in her new dress, another expense I'd covered. "Remember, speech after the first dance. Keep it sweet." The ceremony was exactly what Delilah wanted, elaborate, excessive, and all about her. I watched her float down the aisle in her $8,000 dress, Dad beaming beside her. In the front row, Mom dabbed at her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. During the vows, Natalia caught my eye from her maid of honor position and gave me a subtle nod. Behind her, Raphael, the videographer, adjusted his camera. At the reception, Terry's father gave a speech about family legacy and financial responsibility. I almost laughed out loud. Then Mom stood up, champagne glass in hand. "Family," she began, voice thick with emotion, "is about loyalty and sacrifice, about giving without expecting anything in return. I'm so blessed to have daughters who understand this." She looked directly at me. "Especially our Rosalind, who has always put family first, who has given so much to make this day possible." Delilah wiped away tears. Dad nodded solemnly. The guests murmured appreciatively. "And now," the DJ announced, "the bride's sister would like to present her gift." My moment had arrived. I stood up, picking up the box. Jade squeezed my hand under the table. "Family," I began, my voice steady, "is indeed about sacrifice, about keeping track of what we owe each other, not just in love, but in truth. I walked to the center of the room. Raphael's camera followed me. My sister asked for a special gift. My parents asked for support. They wanted something memorable. I placed the box on the gift table. So I've spent months preparing something unique, something that shows exactly how much I've given, for love. Delilah bounced in her seat, clapping. Open it now? Please do, I smiled. Everyone should see this. Mom's expression flickered, the first hint of uncertainty I'd seen all day. Delilah tore into the wrapping paper, Terry leaning over her shoulder. The leather portfolio emerged, beautifully bound with gold lettering. A family accounting. What's this? She asked, opening it. The first page was simple. To my beloved family, a complete record of devotion, measured in dollars and cents. Delilah's smile faltered as she turned the page. Mom leaned in to look, then went very still. What? Delilah's voice trailed off as she flipped through the pages. I don't understand. Let me explain, I said into the microphone. Page 1, college fund, taken for private school. Pages 2 through 4, mortgage payments. Pages 5 through 7, medical bills. Page 8, student loan bailouts. The room had gone completely silent. Raphael's camera whirred. Keep going, I encouraged. You'll find everything there. Every dollar you've taken, every sacrifice you've demanded, every time you called me selfish for wanting something of my own. Mom stood up sharply. Rosalind, that's enough. No, I said calmly. It's not nearly enough. Check the last page. I've calculated the interest. Delilah's hands shook as she reached the final summary. This can't be right. $147,000, I announced to the silent room. Plus interest, plus the wedding, all carefully documented with dates, bank statements, and your own text messages demanding more. Terry's parents were whispering furiously. Guests shifted uncomfortably in their seats. You see, I continued, you wanted an accounting of family obligation. Well, here it is, every penny, every guilt trip, every manipulation. Dad wouldn't meet my eyes. Mom's face had gone from red to white. Consider this my gift to you, a complete record of what family has cost me, and my gift to myself? I smiled. Freedom from ever paying another cent. Delilah started crying, mascara running. You're ruining my wedding. No, I said softly. I paid for your wedding. I'm just showing you the bill. I turned to leave, but stopped at the door. Oh, and Mom? You were right. Family does come first. That's why I'm finally putting myself first. The last thing I saw as I walked out was Natalia raising her glass in my direction, a fierce grin on her face, while Raphael's camera captured every moment of the unfolding chaos. I made it halfway across the parking lot before the doors burst open behind me. Mom's heels clicked rapidly on the pavement. Get back in there and fix this, she hissed. Tell them it was a joke. Every word is true, I said, turning to face her. Every number is real. Want to check the math? How dare you? Her voice cracked. In front of everyone? In front of Terry's family? How dare I tell the truth? Dad appeared behind her, still holding the portfolio. Rosie, this isn't right. Check page 12, I said. Your gallbladder surgery. Remember telling me it was just a small loan? Inside, we could hear Delilah's wailing. Guests were starting to leave, murmuring in hushed voices. Terry's parents stood by their table, phones out, frantically texting. Jade emerged from the building, my purse in her hand. You okay? She's not okay, Mom snapped. She's sick. She needs help. The only sick thing, Jade replied coldly, is how you've treated her for years. Raphael appeared with his camera, still rolling. Mom tried to wave him away, but I held up my hand. No, keep filming. This should be documented too. I turned to my parents. You wanted a big wedding moment? Well, here it is, your daughter finally standing up for herself. By humiliating us? Dad asked. By telling the truth. Every time I needed something, my apartment, my education, my future, you told me family comes first. Well, here's your family accounting. Delilah stumbled out. Mascara streaked across her face. You've ruined everything. Terry's parents are talking about prenups now. Good, I said. They should know what they're marrying into. I hate you, she screamed. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. Delilah, I said quietly, you've been hating me for years. You just didn't have to admit it while I was still useful. Natalia appeared in the doorway holding her phone up. Just so you know, this is already hitting social media. The video's getting shared in all the local wedding groups. Mom lunged for Natalia's phone, but Jade stepped between them. Don't, she warned. You've taken enough. This isn't over, Mom threatened, jabbing a finger at me. You'll regret this. No one turns on their family like this. Check the final page, I said, the one titled Emotional Labor. I've documented every threat, every guilt trip, every manipulation. 29 years of it. Terry appeared, looking uncomfortable. Delilah, my parents want to leave. See what you've done? Delilah sobbed. My perfect day ruined. Perfect? I laughed. It cost me everything I had. But you know what? It was worth it, because now everyone knows exactly who you are. Raphael adjusted his camera angle. This is better than any wedding video I've ever shot. You're no longer my daughter, Mom declared dramatically. You're dead to us. No, I said, pulling out my keys. I'm just finally alive and free. I turned to Raphael. Make sure they get a copy of everything you filmed. Consider it part of the wedding package I paid for. Dad started flipping through the portfolio again, his face growing paler with each page. These numbers, they can't be right. Every receipt is attached, I said. Every text message saved. Every demand documented. I learned from you, Mom. Always keep records. You planned this, Delilah accused. You planned to ruin my wedding all along. No, I replied. You planned this. Every time you demanded more. Every time you called me selfish for saying no. Every time you took and took and took. I looked at each of them one last time. Mom's fury, Dad's confusion, Delilah's mascara-streaked rage. This is my gift to you, I said clearly, making sure Raphael's camera caught every word. Debt acknowledgement and emancipation. We're officially even. Even? Mom's laugh was hysterical. You think this makes us even? Actually, I smiled, you still owe me quite a bit, but I'm writing it off as the cost of learning who you really are. I turned to leave, Jade beside me. Behind us, I could hear Delilah's renewed sobs, Mom's angry threats, the continuing clicks of Raphael's camera. Wait, Dad called. What happens now? I looked back one last time. Now? Now you live with the truth, just like I've had to live with it all these years. As we drove away, my phone exploded with notifications, messages from relatives, texts from wedding guests, social media alerts. I turned it off. You okay? Jade asked. Better than okay, I replied. I'm free. The keys to my new apartment felt heavy in my hand as I unlocked the door. Jade followed behind, carrying a box labeled kitchen. First box in your new life, Ra, she said, setting it down. Where do you want it? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A text from Natalia. You need to see this. The wedding video is everywhere. She'd attached a link. The footage showed everything. The gift presentation, the accounting, Mom's meltdown in the parking lot. The comments section was exploding. Best wedding revenge ever. Finally, someone exposes toxic family dynamics. The receipts, she kept all the receipts. Turn it off, I told Jade, who was watching over my shoulder. I need to unpack. The doorbell rang. I tensed, half expecting Mom or Delilah, but it was Raphael. Hey, he said, holding up a USB drive. Thought you might want the unedited footage. Also, this came to the studio for you. He handed me an envelope. Inside was a money order from Dad for $5,000 and a note. It's a start. Keep it, I said, trying to hand it back to Raphael. No, Jade interrupted. Put it toward your new couch. Let them start paying you back. My phone kept buzzing. Texts from relatives I hadn't heard from in years. They did the same to me. About time someone stood up to them. You're not alone. A new email popped up from Terry's mother. While we don't condone public spectacles, we appreciate knowing the truth about family finances before the marriage. We're implementing those prenups. I started unpacking boxes, trying to focus on building my new life rather than the aftermath of destroying my old one. Jade helped me arrange furniture while Raphael set up my TV. Another text came through. Delilah. The video ruined everything. Terry's family is making us postpone the wedding until we take financial management classes. I hope you're happy. Actually, I typed back, I am. Mom had left 17 voicemails. I deleted them all unheard. Look what I found, Jade called from the kitchen, pulling out my old coffee maker. First thing to make this place home? As the familiar smell of coffee filled the apartment, another text arrived, from Dad. Your mother's not speaking to me. I've been looking at the numbers. I never realized. I'm sorry. I set the phone down without replying. Some apologies come too late. Natalia stopped by with housewarming wine. The country club crowd is scandalized, she reported gleefully. But you know what? 3 other women have come forward about their families doing the same thing. You started something. I didn't mean to start anything, I said, unpacking plates. I just wanted to stop being their ATM. Well, you did more than that, Raphael added, showing us his phone. My video business is booming. Everyone wants to know if I'm that wedding videographer. The sun was setting when Jade found my old leather notebook in a box. Still keeping track? She asked. No, I said, taking it from her. I'm done counting other people's debts. I tossed it in the trash, then hung my first picture, a photo of just me, smiling, from before the wedding drama started. My phone buzzed one last time, an unknown number, a text from Terry. For what it's worth, you were right, about everything. I placed my coffee maker on the counter, right where I'd imagined it that first viewing. The morning sun would hit it perfectly. You know what? I said to my friends, pulling out coffee cups. I think I'm finally home. Jade raised her wine glass. To new beginnings. To freedom, Natalia added. To keeping receipts, Raphael grinned. I looked around my small but sunlit apartment, at the boxes waiting to be unpacked, at the friends who stood by me, at the life I could finally start building for myself. To having something that's finally, fully mine, I said, raising my cup. No strings attached. Outside, the city hummed with life. Inside, my apartment slowly came together, not with borrowed money or guilty obligations, but with earned independence and chosen family. My phone lit up again. Dad. Can we talk? I looked at the message for a long moment, then typed, Maybe. But first I need to finish unpacking my new life. I set the phone down and turned to my friends. Who's helping me build this IKEA bookshelf? As laughter filled my new home, I realized some debts aren't meant to be repaid. They're meant to be released. And some gifts, like freedom, you have to give yourself.
I bled out on an operating table while my family posed for photos at a charity gala. That's not even the worst part. I died for 78 seconds while my sister accepted a humanitarian award. My name is Peyton, and until that night, I was the backbone of the Lowe family, the fixer, the responsible one, the daughter who'd drop everything at 3 a.m. because Mum was having another meltdown about Dad's latest business failure, or because Jade needed someone to bail her out of whatever mess she'd created. Miss, you really need to go to urgent care, my assistant had said earlier that day, watching me double over at my desk. That's not food poisoning. I waved her off, focused on finishing the presentation that would save Dad's company from another financial disaster. Just give me 10 minutes. Those 10 minutes nearly cost me my life. By the time I made it to urgent care, my vision was blurring. The doctor took one look at me and called for an ambulance. Internal bleeding, I heard him say. Possible ruptured cyst. I fumbled with my phone, trying to call Mom. Straight to voicemail. Hey, it's me. They're taking me to Memorial. Something's wrong. Another wave of pain cut me off. Called Dad. Nothing. Jade's number was my last try. She picked up on the fourth ring. Peyton, I can't talk right now. The gala starts in 2 hours and the caterer messed up the... Jade, I'm in an ambulance. They think something's ruptured. Oh my God, seriously, tonight of all nights. You know this is my moment. I'm getting the Young Humanitarian Award. The paramedic grabbed my phone as my eyes rolled back. The last thing I heard was Jade's voice. Just handle it yourself for once, okay? I've got to go. I woke up to beeping monitors and fluorescent lights. A nurse, Rowan, according to her badge, was adjusting my IV. Welcome back, she said softly. You gave us quite a scare. My throat felt like sandpaper. My family? Rowan's smile faltered. We called all your emergency contacts when you went into surgery, left messages. How long was I? The surgery took 4 hours. You've been out for about 6. My phone sat on the bedside table. No missed calls, no texts, just an Instagram notification. Jade Lowe tagged you in a photo. With trembling fingers, I opened it. There they were. Mom in her designer gown, Dad in his tuxedo, and Jade in the centre, golden dress sparkling as she held up her award. The caption read, "Family is everything. Couldn't have done this without their endless support." To Blessed. The timestamp showed it was posted while I was in surgery. Your doctor will be in shortly, Rowan said, touching my arm gently. You should rest. I nodded, unable to speak. My body felt hollow, and not just from the surgery. Dr. Warner arrived minutes later, clipboard in hand. How are you feeling, Peyton? Like I was gutted. My attempt at humour fell flat. That's not far from the truth. The ruptured cyst caused severe internal bleeding. We almost... He paused, consulting his notes. There's something you should know. During the surgery, there were complications. I stared at the ceiling, already knowing what he'd say. Your heart stopped. For 78 seconds, you were clinically dead. A laugh bubbled up in my throat. Harsh, foreign. 78 seconds. That's specific. We document everything precisely. He studied my face. Is there someone we can call for you? I looked at my phone again. Still nothing. 10 hours had passed since my first call for help. No, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. There's no one to call. After Dr. Warner left, I opened my photos, scrolled back through years of family moments I'd captured. Birthdays, holidays, celebrations. Always behind the camera, never in front. Always the one making sure everyone else was taken care of. Positioned perfectly, smiling just right. My finger hovered over the delete button. Rowan returned with pain medication. Your sister called while you were talking to the doctor, said she hopes you're feeling better and asked if you could transfer some money for the gala's after-party expenses. I closed my eyes, feeling the morphine spread through my system. Did she ask if I was alive? No, Rowan said quietly. She didn't. For 78 seconds, I had been dead. Now, lying in that hospital bed, I made a decision. Those 78 seconds would be the last thing I'd ever give my family. I didn't know it then, but that night, while my heart stopped on an operating table, was when I finally started living. The morning after surgery, I scrolled through social media from my hospital bed, watching my family's perfect life play out in filtered squares. There were dozens of photos from the gala, each one a knife twisting deeper into my chest. Mum's caption under a group shot, So proud of my baby girl. A mother couldn't ask for a more perfect evening. I zoomed in on their faces, searching for any hint of concern, any shadow of worry about their other daughter bleeding out across town. Their smiles were radiant. My phone buzzed. Jade. Oh my God, you will not believe what happened after you went to the hospital. She didn't wait for my response. Jordan proposed right there at the gala. It was like a fairy tale. I stared at the ceiling, counting the tiles. 1, 2, 3. Peyton, are you even listening? I died last night, I said flatly. Don't be so dramatic. The doctor said you're fine now, right? Anyway, about the wedding. My heart stopped for 78 seconds. A pause. Then, well, you always did have terrible timing. You know how important last night was for me. I hung up. Rowan came in to check my vitals, frowning at my elevated heart rate. Everything okay? Just family stuff? I tried to sit up, wincing. When can I leave? Doctor wants to keep you another day for observation. She adjusted my pillows. Your mother called the desk, asked if you could email over some work documents for your father. Of course she did. My phone lit up with texts. Mum, need you to look over Dad's quarterly reports. Urgent, Dad. Call me ASAP. Bank meeting tomorrow. Jade, don't tell Mum, but I maxed the family card on the after party. Can you transfer 5K? Rowan watched me delete each message. Want me to tell them you're resting? Tell them whatever you want. I pulled up my email instead, typing quickly, to HR department. Subject, emergency contact update. Please remove the following names. A knock at the door interrupted me. Emery from work stood there, holding a travel mug and a laptop bag. Thought you might need these. She set them down and pulled up a chair. Real coffee, because hospital coffee is criminal, and your laptop, because I know you. For the first time since waking up in this sterile room, I felt tears prick my eyes. The office is fine, Emery continued. I handled the presentation. Your dad's company will survive without you for a few days. Thank you. My voice cracked. Also, I brought this. She pulled out a folder. Medical proxy paperwork. Thought you might want to make some changes. I stared at her. How did you... Because I've met your family, Peyton, and I was here last night when they weren't. My phone buzzed again, a text from Jordan. Your sister told everyone you had food poisoning. Thought you should know. Emery took my phone gently. Want me to turn this off? Before I could answer, Mum burst into the room in full society wife regalia, trailing Chanel No. 5 and disapproval. Peyton, darling, you look awful. Why didn't you tell us it was this serious? She air-kissed near my cheek. We were so worried when we got the messages this morning. This morning, I repeated. Not last night during the 4 hours I was in surgery. Oh, honey, you know how these events are. We couldn't just leave. Jade was receiving an award. I died, Mum. She waved her hand dismissively. Don't be melodramatic. You're fine now. And speaking of fine, wait until you see Jade's engagement ring. Jordan did wonderfully, though of course they'll need help with the down payment on their house. I told them you'd... I think Peyton needs rest, Emery cut in, standing. Doctor's orders. Mum blinked as if noticing her for the first time. And you are? Someone who was here last night? I said quietly. The room went still. Mum's perfect mask cracked just for a second. Well, she huffed, gathering her purse, I can see you're not in a reasonable mood. Call when you're feeling more yourself, darling. Oh, and don't forget those documents for your father. After she left, Emery handed me back my phone and the folder. Ready to make those changes? I opened the medical proxy form and started writing. With each line, each emergency contact removed and replaced, I felt lighter, like I was finally cutting away dead weight I'd carried my whole life. They're going to be furious, I said, signing the last page. Emery took the forms, her expression serious. Let them be. You almost died, Peyton. Maybe it's time to start living. I looked at my phone one last time before turning it off. The family group chat was blowing up with wedding planning messages. Not one person had asked how I was doing. Yeah, I said, feeling something shift inside me. Maybe it is. 3 days after surgery, Emery helped me settle into my apartment. Every movement felt like my insides were being rearranged, but it was better than another minute in that hospital room, fielding my family's demands. Your fridge is empty, Emery called from the kitchen. I'm ordering groceries. You don't have to. Already done. She appeared in the doorway. And I'm staying in your guest room tonight. No arguments. My phone pinged. Another email from Dad's accountant about urgent transfers needed for the business. Delete. A text from Jade. Mom says you're being difficult? Whatever. I need you to help with wedding venue deposits. Delete. Here. Emery handed me a stack of papers. Your lawyer dropped these off at the office? I flipped through them. Bank account separation forms, power of attorney revocation, trust fund documentation. Each page represented another cord to cut. There's something else, Emery said, pulling out her laptop. Remember how I handle IT for the hospital board? I found something weird in your admission records. She turned the screen toward me. There, time-stamped during my surgery, was a document authorizing my sister as my medical proxy, with my electronic signature. That's impossible, I whispered. I never signed anything. Exactly. Emery's voice was hard. Someone submitted this while you were unconscious. The timestamp matches when Jade was at the gala. My hand started shaking. She forged my signature while I was dying? There's more. Emery clicked through several emails. She used it to authorize them to continue the gala proceedings without liability. Basically, covered herself legally in case you didn't make it. The room spun. I grabbed the trash can just in time. After I finished being sick, Emery handed me water. We need to report this. No. I wiped my mouth. I have a better idea. I picked up my phone and called my lawyer. Margaret? I need everything locked down, every account, every document, every legal tie, and I want a full audit of my trust fund activity for the past 10 years. Already on it, Margaret replied. And Peyton, you should see this. She emailed over bank statements showing systematic withdrawals from my trust fund during college. Withdrawals I never made. Your parents had access, Margaret explained. They've been dipping in for years. Want me to pursue it? Not yet. I looked at the amounts. Thousands siphoned away while I worked 3 jobs to make ends meet. Just document everything. My doorbell rang. Emery checked the camera. It's your mother. Don't answer. Peyton, Mum's voice carried through the door. I know you're in there. Your father needs those signatures today. We waited in silence until her heels clicked away. You okay? Emery asked. Better than okay. I pulled up my contact list and started deleting numbers. I'm free. That night, after Emery went to sleep, I sat on my balcony with a cup of tea, watching the city lights. My phone lit up with a text from Jordan. Just saw what Jade did with the hospital forms. I'm so sorry. For what it's worth, I'm calling off the engagement. I wrote back, thank you for telling me. Then I opened my laptop and began writing. To all hospital administrative staff subject, fraudulent documentation. Notice I'm writing to report unauthorized access to my medical records. 2. Family. Financial advisor. Subject. Account separation notice. Effective immediately. Please remove my name from all shared accounts. 2. HR department. Subject. Emergency contact final update. Please remove all previously listed family members. Each email felt like setting down a weight I'd carried for years. My phone buzzed again, Jade calling. For the first time in my life, I hit block. The next morning, Emery made coffee while I checked my emails. Confirmations rolled in, accounts separated, medical records secured, legal barriers erected. "Your sister's been calling the office," Emery mentioned. "Says it's an emergency." "It always is." I sipped my coffee. "Did she say what kind?" "Something about wedding vendors threatening to sue over bounce checks." I smiled. "Sounds like her problem. You know they're going to escalate, right? Let them." I showed her my phone. Dozens of missed calls, hundreds of texts. I'm done bleeding for people who wouldn't even notice if I bled out. Emery squeezed my shoulder. "Want to get breakfast? There's a new place downtown." "Actually," I said, "I think I'm ready to go back to work." "You sure? It's only been..." "I'm sure, but first..." I pulled up my email one last time. To Jade. Subject: hospital records. "I know what you did. Don't ever contact me again. Pete." "There," I said, hitting send. "Now we can get breakfast." For the first time since the surgery, my scars didn't hurt. Maybe because I'd finally stopped letting them cut deeper. "Your mother's in the lobby again," my assistant Sarah announced through the intercom. "Third time this week." I didn't look up from my computer. Standard response. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Lowe, but Peyton's in meetings all day." Through my office window, I watched Mum's perfectly coiffed head bob angrily as she argued with security. Same script, different day. It had been 3 weeks since I'd blocked their numbers, and they still hadn't gotten the message. My office phone rang. The front desk. "Miss, your sister's here too now." Of course she was. I grabbed my coat and laptop. "Sarah, I'm working from home. If anyone asks..." "Meetings all day, got it." I was halfway to the emergency stairs when Jade's voice rang out. "Peyton, stop right there." Instead, I walked faster. "You can't ignore us forever." She clicked after me in her heels. "Mum's crying every day. Dad's business is falling apart. My wedding vendors are threatening legal action." I spun around. "Sounds rough. Maybe forge some more documents to fix it." She paled. "That's not... I didn't..." "Save it. I saw the timestamps, Jade. You committed fraud while I was dying. I had to. The gala was too important." "More important than my life?" "Yeah, you made that clear." I turned away. "Goodbye, Jade." "Wait!" She grabbed my arm. "Please, I need your help. The wedding venue's suing for $60,000, and Jordan's not returning my calls, and..." I yanked free. "Not my problem." "But you're my sister." "Funny, I wasn't your sister when I was bleeding out." The emergency door clicked shut behind me, cutting off her protests. At home, I poured a glass of wine and opened my laptop. Another email from Margaret, my lawyer. "Trust fund audit complete. Your parents withdrew $157,000 during your college years. Want to pursue legal action?" I sipped my wine, remembering those years. Working multiple jobs, eating ramen, while Mum posted photos of their European vacations. Now I knew how they paid for them. My doorbell rang. Through the camera, I saw Mom, mascara streaking her face. "Peyton, please, just talk to us. We're family." I turned up my music to drown out her voice. My phone lit up, a text from Emery. "Therapy at 7? I'll drive." "Yes, please," I replied. Dr. Lisa's office felt safer than my apartment lately. She looked up from her notes as I settled into the familiar chair. "Rough day?" "Family ambush at work." I stared at my hands. "They're getting desperate." "How does that make you feel?" "Nothing." I met her eyes. "That's the weird part. I feel nothing." She nodded. "Tell me about when you started feeling nothing." A memory surfaced. Me at 10 years old, folding laundry while Mom sobbed about Jade's latest crisis. "You're such a good girl, Peyton," Mum had said, mascara staining my freshly folded shirts. "So practical. At least I have one daughter I can rely on." I told Dr. Lisa about that day, about all the days that followed, about being the family ATM, therapist, and fixer, while Jade got all the attention. "You were parentified," Dr. Lisa said, "made responsible for your parents' emotional and financial well-being from a young age. And now I'm abandoning them. Are you? Or are you finally allowing them to face consequences?" Before I could answer, my phone buzzed, a number I didn't recognize. "Hello? Peyton?" It was Jordan. "We need to talk. In person. It's important." I hesitated. "It's about something I found on your mum's phone. Something you need to hear." Dr. Lisa watched me carefully. "Everything okay?" "I don't know," I stood up, "but I'm about to find out." Jordan was waiting at a coffee shop downtown, looking nervous. He slid his phone across the table. "I found this while helping your mum with her phone settings. It's from 15 years ago. She never deleted it." I pressed play. Mum's voice filled my ears, younger but unmistakable. "I can't do this anymore, Sarah. You don't understand. Peyton wasn't supposed to happen. We kept her because your father was afraid of how it would look. But I never wanted... God, I sound horrible. Delete this message." The recording ended. My hands didn't shake. My eyes stayed dry. "I'm sorry," Jordan said quietly. "I thought you should know." I handed back his phone. "Thank you." "What are you going to do?" I gathered my things, feeling strangely light. "Nothing. They're going to do it all to themselves." Outside, the sun was setting. I texted Emery. "Want to help me look for a new apartment? Thinking it's time for a change?" Her reply was instant. "Already looking? Wine and real estate websites tonight?" I smiled, walking away from the coffee shop, from Jordan, from the last threads of my old life. "Perfect," I wrote back. "I'm ready for something new." 6 months passed like a deep breath finally released. My new apartment overlooked the river, far from my old neighborhood. No more surprise visits, no more family ambushes. Just peace. "Happy birthday!" Emery burst through my door with a cake and a bottle of champagne. Behind her, a small group of friends filtered in. Actual friends, not the society connections Mum had forced on me. "You didn't have to..." "Shut up and blow out your candles," Emery laughed. For the first time in my life, I celebrated my birthday without a single family obligation. No last-minute crisis to solve, no checks to write, no emotional fires to extinguish. My phone buzzed. Email from Dad. "The bank is foreclosing. Your mother's hysterical. We need $200,000 by Friday or we lose everything. I know you're going through a phase, but family helps family. Call me." Delete. "Earth to Peyton." Emery waved her hand in front of my face. "Present time." They'd gotten me thoughtful gifts. A camera for my new photography hobby. Books I'd mentioned wanting to read. A spa day package. No strings attached, no hidden obligations. "Speech!" someone called out. I raised my champagne glass. "Thank you all for..." My doorbell rang. Through the camera feed, I saw Jade, mascara streaked down her face. "Don't answer it," Emery said quietly. "Peyton, please!" Jade's voice carried through the door. "Everything's falling apart. Jordan left me, the wedding's cancelled, Dad's losing the house. I need my sister." My friends looked uncomfortable. I took another sip of champagne. "Should we turn up the music?" someone suggested. Jade's voice grew louder. "I know you're in there. I can hear people. Mum's having panic attacks every day. Dad's talking about bankruptcy. You're killing them." "No," I said calmly. They did that themselves. After 15 minutes of unanswered pleas, Jade finally left. The party resumed, but something had shifted. "You okay?" Emery asked later, helping me clean up. Better than okay. I showed her my phone. Dozens of missed calls, countless texts, all from unknown numbers they kept creating. "Look at these messages. Mum, how could you abandon us like this? Dad, your mother's health is declining from stress. This will be on your conscience. Jade, if Dad has another heart attack, it's your fault." "They're getting desperate," Emery observed. "They're getting consequences." I blocked another new number, probably for the first time ever. My laptop pinged. An email from Margaret. "Your parents are attempting to access old accounts, all blocked. Also, found something interesting. They've been lying about the business's finances for years. The empire was smoke and mirrors, propped up by your money. Want details?" "Not anymore," I replied. That night, after everyone left, I sat on my balcony watching the river. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. A photo of my childhood home with a foreclosure notice. "Mum, is this what you wanted? To destroy your family?" I thought about that recording Jordan had found, about being the unwanted child they kept for appearances, about bleeding out alone while they posed for photos. "No," I typed back. "This is what you created." Then I blocked that number too. The next morning, Sarah buzzed my office. "Your father's here. He looks unwell. Call security." "Peyton, please." Dad's voice broke through. "Just 5 minutes." "Security's on their way, sir," Sarah said firmly. Through my office window, I watched 2 guards escort him out. He looked older, defeated. The expensive suit was wrinkled, his shoulders slumped. My phone buzzed. Jade again, somehow texting from another new number. "They're serving eviction papers tomorrow. Mum's talking about suicide. How can you be so cold? What happened to you?" I stared at the message for a long time before replying. "I died for 78 seconds. Remember?" Then I turned off my phone and opened my laptop to book a vacation. Somewhere far away. Somewhere new. Emery popped her head in. "Lunch?" "Actually," I said, "how do you feel about Thailand?" She grinned. "For lunch? Ambitious. For 2 weeks, next month. I need a change of scenery." "Running away?" "No." I showed her the flight options. "For the first time in my life, I'm running towards something. Count me in." She sat down to help plan. "Your family's going to implode while you're gone. They've been imploding my whole life." I clicked book now on 2 tickets. I just won't be there to catch the pieces anymore. As if on cue, my office phone rang. Mum's newest number. I unplugged it without breaking stride. "So," I said to Emery, "beach resort or city hotel?" The silence in my office felt like freedom. "We need to talk." Jordan stood outside my office looking grim. "It's worse than you know." I checked my watch. 2 days before my Thailand trip, and family drama was still finding ways to seep in. "I have nothing to discuss about Jade or—" "This isn't about Jade." He glanced around. "Can we go somewhere private?" At a nearby coffee shop, Jordan pulled out his phone. "Remember that voicemail I showed you? About you being unwanted? There's more." My stomach clenched. "I don't need—" "Trust me, you do." He pressed play. Mum's voice filled the space between us. "Sarah, I did something terrible. The trust fund. Theodore and we've been taking more than just college money. Peyton's inheritance from her grandmother. We spent it all. Years ago. The documents we showed her were fake. If she ever finds out—" The recording cut off. My coffee turned to acid in my stomach. "There's one more," Jordan said quietly. "From last week. Another recording. The bankruptcy papers are ready. Once we file, Peyton will have to help. She's always been our safety net. She'll cave when she sees how bad it is. She has to. We've got nothing left to sell except... Except what? I asked, though I already knew. Your grandmother's house. The one you think you inherited. They sold it 3 years ago. The world tilted sideways. That house was my escape plan since childhood. The place I'd hide when Mum's screaming got too loud or Jade's drama too suffocating. Grandmother had left it to me specifically, knowing I'd need a sanctuary. How did you get these? Jade's been recording your mum's breakdowns for years. Blackmail material, I think. I found them when I was moving my stuff out. My phone buzzed. Emery. Emergency at work. Your dad showed up drunk. I have to go. I stood up. Thank you, Jordan. For everything. There's one more thing. He hesitated. They're planning something big. Your mum mentioned medical power of attorney papers they kept from the hospital night. Said it was their insurance policy. Ice ran through my veins. What kind of insurance? The kind that could force you to take responsibility for their debts. They're desperate, Peyton. Be careful. Back at the office, security had already removed Dad, but the damage was done. He'd caused a scene in the lobby, shouting about ungrateful daughters and family duty. He left this. Emery handed me an envelope. Inside was a single photo, me at 8 years old, bandaging Jade's knee after a fall, while Mum took pictures of her tears. A post-it note read, "You were always the responsible one. Don't fail us now." "I'm calling Margaret," I said, reaching for my phone. My lawyer answered immediately. "I was just about to call you. Your parents filed something concerning with the hospital. They're trying to use those forged documents from your surgery night to claim ongoing medical power of attorney." "Can they?" "No, but they're desperate enough to try. Want me to handle it?" "Please." I sank into my chair. "And Margaret? Check if they sold my grandmother's house." Her silence was answer enough. "Already on it," she finally said. "I'll add it to the fraud investigation." After hanging up, I stared at the photo Dad had left. That little girl with the bandages, always ready to fix everyone else's wounds while hiding her own. My phone lit up. A text from an unknown number. A video. Against my better judgment, I played it. Mom appeared, mascara running. "Peyton, baby, please. We're about to lose everything. Your father, he's not well. The doctors say his heart. Please, call us. We need you. You're our daughter." I zoomed in on her face, searching for any genuine concern. All I saw was manipulation. Emery knocked softly. "Security footage shows your mum in the parking garage." "Of course she is." I grabbed my coat. "Back door." Already called a car. As we snuck out through the service entrance, my phone exploded with notifications. Flying monkeys, family friends, distant relatives, all suddenly concerned about my cruel behaviour. "Your mother's worried sick. How could you abandon your family? Your father might not survive this stress." Each message made me more certain of my decision to leave. "Still want to move up that Thailand trip?" Emery asked as we drove away. I looked back at my office building, where Mum was undoubtedly still waiting to ambush me. At the life I'd spent decades propping up for people who'd sell my inheritance behind my back. "Actually," I said, "why wait? Let's go home and pack." "Now? But the tickets are changeable." I pulled out my phone. "I'm done waiting for their next move. It's time to make mine." As we drove away, I deleted every unread message without opening them. Let them scheme and manipulate. I'd be on a beach halfway around the world, finally living my own life. The irony wasn't lost on me. They'd sold my sanctuary, not knowing I'd build my own, far beyond their reach. The call came while I was watching sunset from a Thai beach, toes in the sand, not a family crisis in sight. Unknown number, but something made me answer. "Is this Peyton?" A tired voice I didn't recognize. "This is Memorial Hospital. Your father had a stroke. He's in critical condition." The waves kept rolling in. My heart kept beating. The world didn't stop. "I'm not listed as his contact anymore," I said calmly. "You're still on one form as medical proxy. We need authorization for..." Check again. All those documents were forged. Silence. Papers shuffling. I see the fraud report now. I'm sorry to have bothered you." I hung up and turned back to the sunset. My phone immediately lit up with messages. "Jade, Dad's dying and you're on vacation? You heartless bitch." "Mum, how dare you? Get back here immediately." Unknown numbers. "Your father needs you." Emery looked up from her beach chair. "Everything okay?" "Dad had a stroke." I took a sip of my coconut water. "They're trying to guilt me into coming back." "Are you?" "No." More messages flooded in, each one more desperate than the last. "Mum, the doctors need approval for surgery. Your father could die." "Jade, his blood will be on your hands." Family friend. "How can you be so cruel? They're your parents." I forwarded everything to Margaret. "Already on it," she texted back. "Hospital's been notified about the fraud. Your mother has full legal authority as his wife. They don't need you." The sun dipped lower, painting the sky orange. My phone kept buzzing. "Want me to turn it off?" Emery offered. "No." I scrolled through the messages with detached curiosity. I want to remember this moment. A video came through. Mom at Dad's bedside, crying for the camera. "Peyton, please, he's asking for you. How can you do this to us?" I zoomed in on the background. Dad's expensive watch was still on his wrist. Mum's designer purse sat in the corner. They still had plenty to sell before truly hitting bottom. The next message was from Jordan. "They're lying about the severity. Doctors said it was mild. They're trying to manipulate you." "I know," I replied. A final text from Jade. "Fine. You want to know the truth? We're broke. The house is gone. All Dad's businesses failed. We need your money. Happy now?" I showed Emery the message. Took them long enough to admit it. "What are you going to do?" I opened my banking app and looked at my savings. The money they'd expected to bail them out with. Instead, I clicked transfer and moved it to a new account they'd never find. "Nothing," I said. My phone rang again. The hospital. "Miss, your mother is insisting we need your approval for..." "Let me be clear," I interrupted. "I died on your operating table while they attended a party. They forged documents that night to cover their absence. I've sent proof to your legal department. Do not call me again." Silence. Then, "I understand. I'm so sorry." After hanging up, I turned off my phone and laid back in my beach chair. The sky had turned purple, stars beginning to peek through. "You really won't go back?" Emery asked softly. "They didn't come back for me," I said. "Why should I go back for them?" Later that night in our hotel room, I checked my email one last time. A message from Margaret contained hospital records. Dad's condition was stable, minor stroke, excellent prognosis. Another email from Jordan had photos of Mom and Jade shopping at Gucci that afternoon, apparently not so devastated by Dad's condition. I closed my laptop and walked onto the balcony. The ocean breeze carried away the last of my doubt. My phone lit up with a final voicemail from Mom. "How dare you abandon us like this? After everything we've done for you, we gave you life." "No," I whispered to the night air. "You gave me obligations. I'm giving myself life now." Emery joined me on the balcony with 2 glasses of wine. "Your mum called the hotel. I told them not to put any calls through." "Thank you." I took a glass. "Not just for that, for everything." "That's what real family does," she said simply. I looked out at the ocean, thinking about the hospital night when my heart stopped. about waking up alone, about all the times I'd bled for people who saw me as nothing but a safety net. My phone buzzed one final time. A text from Jade. "Please, we need you." I deleted it without responding and turned off my phone. They needed me, but I didn't need them. Not anymore. The ocean waves kept rolling in, washing away everything but peace. The foreclosure sign stood stark against my childhood home as I parked across the street. Through my camera lens, I captured the empty windows, the overgrown lawn, the "no trespassing" notice. Perfect metaphors for a family that had finally run out of lies to tell. My phone buzzed. "Margaret. Final, paperwork filed. All ties legally severed. You're officially free." I took one last photo and packed away my camera. This would be the final shot in my gallery exhibition. 78 seconds, a story of rebirth. Emery's car pulled up beside mine. "You sure about this?" "I need to see it empty," I said. One last time. We walked up the cracked driveway. Through the windows, I could see vacant rooms where family portraits once hung. The grand staircase where Jade had posed for countless photos while I steadied Mum's camera. The kitchen where I'd bandaged wounds and absorbed tears. All empty now. "Someone's coming," Emery warned. A familiar Mercedes pulled up. Mum stepped out, designer sunglasses hiding her eyes. She'd lost weight, but her clothes were still expensive, still keeping up appearances. "Peyton?" Her voice cracked. "I knew you'd come back. We can fix this baby. We can—" "I'm not back." I raised my camera. "Just documenting the end." "The end?" She laughed sharply. "We're your family. There is no end." There was. I lowered the camera. 78 seconds of it while you posed for photos. That again? Why can't you let it go? We've lost everything because of your stubbornness. "No," I said quietly. "You lost everything because your lies finally caught up. How's Dad's critical condition?" She flinched. "He's recovering." "In the vacation house you claimed you couldn't afford? The one you bought with my grandmother's money?" "We did what we had to for this family." "For appearances," I corrected. "Always for appearances." A second car pulled up. Jade stepped out, no longer looking like the golden child. Her designer clothes were gone, replaced by department store basics. "Of course you'd show up to gloat," she spat. "Happy now? We're ruined." "No," I said. "You're just finally living in reality." "Reality?" She stormed forward. "Reality is you abandoned us, left us with nothing." "Nothing?" I laughed. You have exactly what you earned, what you built. I just stopped building it for you." "We're your family," Mom pleaded again. "No." I raised my camera, capturing their desperate faces. "You're my past. And this," I gestured to the empty house, "this is your karma." "Karma?" Jade scoffed. "For what?" "For leaving me to die, for forging documents, for stealing my inheritance, for making me believe I was worthless except as your safety net." I lowered the camera. "But mostly for teaching me exactly what family isn't supposed to be." Mom stepped forward, reaching for me. "Please, baby, we can start over." "No," I said firmly. "We can't, because I died that night. The daughter you could manipulate, the sister you could exploit. She bled out on that operating table. The woman who came back, she doesn't need your approval anymore." I turned to leave, but Jade grabbed my arm. "You can't just walk away. Watch me." I pulled free. "My exhibition opens tonight. It's called 78 Seconds. You should come see what death taught me about living." Back in my car, I watched them through my rearview mirror. 2 broken women standing in front of an empty house, all their manipulation tactics finally useless. "You okay?" Emery asked softly. "Better than okay." I started the engine. "I'm free." At the gallery that evening, my photos told the story. The hospital room where I died, The empty chairs where family should have sat, the foreclosure sign, the final shot, Mom and Jade, desperate and small in front of their lost kingdom. The plaque beside it read, "Sometimes karma isn't revenge. Sometimes it's just stepping away and letting people face the consequences of their own actions." Jordan found me by the champagne. "They're here," he whispered. "Your family." "No," I corrected, watching Mom and Jade slink through the crowd, seeing themselves exposed on every wall. "They're just people I used to know." I raised my glass to them as they stared at the hospital photos, at the documented evidence of their absence. They left quickly, finally understanding. Their power was gone. Emery clinked her glass against mine. "To 78 seconds. "No," I smiled, watching them retreat. "To everything that came after." Through the gallery windows, I watched them drive away for the last time. My heart beat steadily, strongly, marking the rhythm of my new life, one where family was chosen, love was earned, and silence spoke louder than manipulation ever could. I was finally, truly alive.
The last time I saw my brother Mason, he was walking away with everything our parents had worked for their entire lives. I remember standing in our family home's driveway, watching his Mercedes disappear around the corner, taking with it not just my inheritance, but also my faith in family. My name is Celeste, and this is the story of how my brother's betrayal became the catalyst for my greatest triumph. Just 3 months earlier, we'd been sharing tearful hugs at our parents' funeral. Mom and Dad's private plane had gone down somewhere over the Rockies. Mason held me as I sobbed through the service, whispering that he'd always take care of his baby sister. I believed him. Why wouldn't I? He was my big brother, my protector since I was in pigtails. "We need to talk about the will," Mason said one evening, setting 2 glasses of wine on the kitchen counter. The same kitchen where Mom used to make us hot chocolate on cold winter mornings. "I've been speaking with the lawyers." I took a sip of wine. "What did they say?" "They're suggesting we liquidate everything. The house, Dad's business, their investments." He leaned forward, eyes intense. "I can handle all of it. You don't need to worry about a thing." "Shouldn't we discuss this together?" I asked. "I mean, I have some ideas about Dad's company." Mason's laugh cut me off. "Come on, Cel. You've never run a business in your life. You majored in art history, for God's sake." "That doesn't mean I can't learn. Dad always said, Dad's gone." His voice turned sharp, "and someone needs to make practical decisions." I should have seen it coming. The late-night meetings with lawyers I wasn't invited to. The documents he needed me to sign right away because the deadline was approaching. The way he brushed off my questions about the estate's value. "Just trust me," he kept saying. "I'm handling everything." The truth came in the form of a letter from his lawyer. Mason had somehow managed to transfer everything into his name. The house, Dad's company, their savings, all of it. He'd used my signatures on those rushed documents against me, claiming I'd willingly signed away my rights to the inheritance. "You're making a mistake," Isabella, my best friend, said when I called her in tears. "You need to fight this. Get a lawyer." "With what money?" I laughed bitterly. "He's cleaned out everything, Bella, everything." The confrontation happened on a Sunday afternoon. Mason was supervising the movers who were packing up our childhood home, the home he'd just sold without telling me. "How could you do this?" I demanded, following him through the half-empty house. "They were our parents, Mason. Both of ours." He turned to face me, and I barely recognized my brother in his cold expression. "Look, this is for your own good. You've always been the dreamer, Cel. You'd blow through this money in a year on some artistic venture or whatever. I'm the practical one. I know how to manage wealth." "So this is you protecting me?" My voice cracked. "By leaving me with nothing?" "You'll thank me someday," he said, checking his Rolex, Dad's Rolex, "when you learn to stand on your own feet instead of relying on handouts." That was the last conversation we had, 5 years ago today. I watched him drive away with everything our parents had built, everything they'd meant to leave for both of us. The spring air was warm, but I felt cold to my core. That night, I sat on the front steps of what used to be my home, looking up at the stars. The same stars Mom used to tell us stories about when we were kids. Mason thought he was teaching me a lesson about standing on my own feet. Fine. I'd learned that lesson so well it would come back to haunt him. You okay? Isabella asked, sitting beside me. She'd come over as soon as I texted. No, I admitted, wiping my eyes. But I will be. What are you going to do? I took a deep breath, feeling something hard and determined settle in my chest. I'm going to prove him wrong. I'm going to build something bigger than anything he could steal. From scratch? Isabella raised an eyebrow. That's going to be tough. Good, I said, standing up, because I want him to see exactly what his baby sister can do with nothing but determination and spite. The moving truck had left hours ago, taking with it the last pieces of my old life. But sitting there under the stars, I made myself a promise. This wasn't the end of my story. It was just the beginning. And somewhere out there, my brother had no idea what was coming. 5 years can change everything. I learned that while scrubbing toilets at a startup tech company, watching how the executives walked past me like I was invisible. Perfect. Being invisible meant I could listen, learn, and plan. You missed a spot, my supervisor said one evening, pointing to a corner of the break room floor I was mopping. I nodded and adjusted my cleaning cart. As I worked, I could hear 2 executives discussing their latest project through the thin walls of the conference room. The interface is all wrong, one said. Users want simplicity, not whatever this is. I smiled to myself. They were right. I'd seen their product demo on a computer screen someone had left open. Their approach was all wrong, and I knew exactly how to fix it. That night, I sketched out my ideas on the back of my cleaning schedule. 5 years of odd jobs had taught me more about business than any MBA program could. I'd worked as a barista, watching how successful coffee shops operated. I'd been a receptionist at a law firm, learning how contracts worked. And now, cleaning offices at a tech company, I was learning their secrets too. You're still here? A deep voice startled me. I looked up to see Christian, the company's CEO, standing in the doorway. I quickly tried to hide my sketches. I was just finishing up, sir. He walked over, eyes catching the papers I was trying to tuck away. What's that? Nothing, just, these are interface designs, he said, picking up one of my sketches. And they're actually quite good. Did you do these? I straightened my back. Yes, sir. I noticed some issues with the current design and thought, you're the cleaning lady, he said, but not unkindly. How do you know about UI design? I watch, I learn, and I have a lot of time to think while I'm cleaning. He studied me for a long moment. Come to my office tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. sharp. That meeting changed everything. Christian listened as I explained my ideas, not just for the interface, but for improving several aspects of their business I'd observed. By the end of the hour, I wasn't a janitor anymore. I was their new junior project manager. You have raw talent, Christian told me, but you need refinement. I'll mentor you if you're willing to work harder than you've ever worked before. I thought about Mason, probably sitting in our father's old office. I'm ready. The next 2 years were a blur of 18-hour days, learning everything Christian could teach me. I absorbed knowledge like a sponge, turning my observations into innovations. The company's products improved, and so did my position. You're wasted here, Christian said one evening, after I'd successfully launched my 3rd project. You need to start your own company. I laughed. With what money? With mine. He slid a business card across his desk. I'm also a venture capitalist, and I think you're ready for the big leagues. That's when Isabella called. She'd been tracking my progress all these years, and now she had news that made my heart race. Remember Taylor? She asked. That woman who used to compete with your brother's company. She's looking for a partner for a new venture. Someone with fresh ideas and determination. Taylor? I remembered her. She'd nearly beaten Mason in several deals. Why would she want to partner with me? Because I told her about you, Isabella said. About your ideas, your drive. Meet with her, Cell. This could be huge. The meeting was set for the following week at an upscale restaurant. I wore a borrowed suit and carried a folder full of proposals. So, Taylor said, studying me over her wine glass, you're Mason's sister. My heart stopped. You know, I make it my business to know everything about potential partners, she smiled. Don't worry, I hate him as much as you do. He tried to sabotage my last 3 deals. I'm nothing like my brother, I said firmly. I know, that's why I'm interested. She leaned forward. I have the connections and experience. Christian has the capital. You have the innovation and drive. Together we could build something extraordinary. And compete directly with Mason? Taylor's smile turned predatory. That's just a bonus. As I left the restaurant that night, my phone buzzed with a text from Isabella. How did it go? I looked up at the city skyline, remembering that night under the stars 5 years ago. It went perfectly, I texted back. Time to show my brother what his baby sister can really do. The game was about to change, and Mason wouldn't know what hit him until it was too late. Wolf Tech Solutions, I said, testing the name out loud in our newly leased office space. Empty now, but not for long. Has a nice ring to it, Taylor said, measuring the windows for blinds. Your brother will hate it, I smiled. He doesn't own our family name. The next few months were a whirlwind. Taylor's connections and my innovations proved to be a perfect match. We focused on developing smart home technology that actually worked the way people needed it to, something my father's company, now run into the ground by Mason, had failed to do. Your 9 a.m. is here. Layla, my new assistant, poked her head into my office. And you have that investor call at 10. I nodded, straightening my jacket. No more borrowed suits. These days, I could afford my own. The morning meeting was with a potential client, a major retailer looking to modernize their stores. As I walked them through our presentation, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the window. Gone was the invisible cleaning lady. In her place stood someone who commanded attention. Impressive proposal, their CEO said, but why should we trust such a new company? Because we're hungry, I replied, and we have nothing to lose and everything to prove. They signed the contract that afternoon. Isabella, now our HR director, burst into my office later that day. Have you seen this? She thrust her tablet at me. It was a business news article. Rising star in tech. Wolf Tech Solutions disrupts industry. Keep reading, Isabella urged. My eyes scanned down to a quote from an anonymous industry insider. Sources say Mason Wolf is increasingly concerned about this new competitor. The similarity in names hasn't gone unnoticed, and rumors suggest there might be a connection. I handed the tablet back. Let him wonder. There's something else, Isabella hesitated. Glenn called. My head snapped up. Glenn had been Mason's business partner until my brother's shady dealings drove him away. What did he want? To invest. He says he's been watching us, and he likes what he sees. I leaned back in my chair, thinking. Glenn knew who I was. He'd been at our parents' funeral. If he was reaching out now... Set up a meeting. The meeting with Glenn was enlightening. He arrived looking older than I remembered, but his eyes were sharp. Your brother screwed me over, he said without preamble, just like he screwed you over. Ancient history, I replied coolly. Not so ancient. He's been making mistakes, Celeste. Big ones. His company, your father's company, is struggling. And now you're here, building something better. I kept my face neutral. Are you investing because you believe in us, or because you want revenge on Mason? Glenn smiled. Can it be both? I have 10 million ready to go, no strings attached. Later that night, I sat in my office, staring at the city lights. Taylor found me there. Take the money, she said, pouring us both a drink. Glenn's right. Mason's company is vulnerable. With that investment, we could expand faster, hit harder. It feels too easy, I admitted, like karma's just falling into my lap. You call the last 5 years easy? Taylor scoffed. You earned this, Celeste, every bit of it. My phone buzzed, a text from Layla. Major tech conference next month. Mason's company will be there. Want me to book our booth? I showed Taylor the message. Perfect timing, she said. With Glenn's investment, we could make quite a splash, really introduce ourselves to the industry. I thought about Mason, about how he'd dismissed me as just a dreamer, about how he thought I'd never amount to anything without his protection. Book it, I texted back to Layla. Then to Taylor. Call Glenn, tell him we accept. To karma. Taylor raised her glass. To karma, I echoed, but my stomach churned. Something about this felt too perfect, too neat. As if reading my thoughts, Taylor added, You know he'll be there, right, Mason? The conference will be the first time you've seen him since he drove away with everything? I finished. Good. Let him see what his baby sister built from nothing. But as I looked out at the city lights, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was all building towards something bigger than revenge. The conference was a month away. Mason had no idea who was behind Wolf Tech Solutions. No idea his sister had risen from the ashes of his betrayal. And in just 4 weeks, everything would change. The tech conference buzzed with energy, our booth drawing constant attention. I stood back, watching Layla demonstrate our latest smart home interface to an impressed crowd. "Your booth is stealing the show," Christian said, appearing beside me, "but you haven't stopped looking at the entrance for the past hour. Is it that obvious? Only to someone who knows what you're looking for." He touched my arm. "He's here, by the way. Saw him at registration." My heart skipped. How did he look? Like a man who's lost his edge. No more Rolex. I was about to respond when Isabella rushed over, her face flushed. "Heads up, Mason's heading this way." "Already?" I stepped behind a display panel. "I'm not ready." But there he was, my brother, looking nothing like the confident man who'd driven away with our inheritance 5 years ago. His suit was off the rack, his shoes scuffed. He moved through the crowd like someone who'd forgotten how to command a room. "Welcome to Wolf Tech Solutions." Layla greeted him cheerfully, unaware of who he was. "Would you like a demonstration?" Mason's eyes darted across our booth, taking in the sleek displays and the crowd of interested investors. "This is impressive. Who owns this company?" "Our CEO will be speaking at the main presentation this afternoon." Layla replied smoothly. "You should attend." I watched him examine our logo, his brow furrowing at our family name. Before he could ask more questions, Taylor appeared. "Ah, Mason," she said, her voice dripping with false warmth. "What brings you to our humble booth?" He stiffened. "Taylor, this is yours?" "I'm just a partner, but stick around. You'll meet our CEO soon enough." Mason's face darkened. "I've heard rumors about this company. The name, the timing. It's not subtle. Neither was stealing your sister's inheritance." Taylor shot back quietly. I held my breath, watching the color drain from Mason's face. Before he could respond, an announcement echoed through the convention center. "Keynote presentation beginning in 15 minutes. You should find a good seat," Taylor suggested. "It's going to be quite a show." Mason walked away, glancing back at our booth repeatedly. Once he was gone, I emerged from my hiding spot, hands shaking. "You okay?" Isabella asked. "No," I admitted. "But I will be. How's the presentation looking?" "Perfect," Taylor said. "Ready to shock the industry?" The main hall was packed when I stepped onto the stage. Under the bright lights, I could barely make out individual faces, but I knew exactly where Mason was sitting. 3rd row, center. "Good afternoon," I began. "I'm Celeste Wolf, CEO of Wolf Tech Solutions." The ripple of whispers was immediate. I saw Mason bolt upright in his seat. 5 years ago, I learned the hard way that technology should serve people, not the other way around. That innovation without integrity is meaningless. That sometimes you have to lose everything to build something better. My eyes locked with Mason's. He looked like he'd seen a ghost. "Today, I'm proud to announce our latest innovation." I launched into our presentation, showcasing the technology we'd developed. With each slide, with each demonstration, I could see Mason sinking lower in his seat. The applause was thunderous when I finished. Investors swarmed the stage, cards in hand. Through the crowd, I saw Mason standing at the back of the hall, staring at me with an unreadable expression. "Brilliant," Christian said later at the reception. "Your stock price is going to soar tomorrow." "Mason's been asking around about you," Isabella added. "Apparently his company's in trouble. They're laying off staff next week." I watched my brother across the room, now standing alone by the bar. The same way I'd stood alone that night he drove away with everything. "Ms. Wolf?" A nervous voice interrupted my thoughts. It was Mason's assistant. I recognized her from my research. "Mr. Wolf would like to speak with you. He's prepared to discuss a potential collaboration." I caught Taylor's eye across the room. She raised an eyebrow, asking silently if I wanted her to run interference. "Tell him," I said clearly, "that my schedule is quite full, but he's welcome to apply for a position through our HR department, just like anyone else." The assistant's eyes widened as she caught my meaning. As she hurried back to Mason, I saw him receive my message. He looked up, meeting my gaze across the crowded room. For the first time in 5 years, I saw something I never expected to see in my brother's eyes: fear. 2 weeks after the conference, Mason's resume landed on my desk. Isabella brought it herself, a slight smirk on her face. "He actually did it," she said, dropping the folder in front of me. "Applied for a senior project manager position. His cover letter is interesting." I opened the folder. The resume was impressive, or would have been, if I didn't know the truth behind each accomplishment. The cover letter, though, made me pause. "Did you read this?" I asked Isabella. "I know I'm probably the last person you want to hire," she quoted, "but I'm out of options, and you're the best in the industry now." Pretty humble for Mason, isn't it? A knock at my door interrupted us. Layla poked her head in. "He's here for the interview." "Already?" I glanced at my watch. "He's 20 minutes early." "Should I tell him you're busy?" I stood up, smoothing my dress. "No, send him in." Mason entered my office like a different person from the brother I knew. Gone was the arrogant stride, replaced by careful, measured steps. He'd shaved his designer stubble, and his suit, while clean, had definitely seen better days. "Celeste," he said softly. "Thank you for seeing me." "It's Ms. Wolfe in this office," I corrected him. "Please, sit down." He sat, hands folded in his lap. Through the glass walls, I could see other employees trying to sneak glances at our reunion. "Your resume says you have experience in project management," I began, professional and cold. "Celeste, Ms. Wolfe, can we talk about—" "About what?" I cut him off. "About how you stole my inheritance? About how you left me with nothing? Or about how that was supposedly for my own good?" He flinched. "I was wrong. I know that now." "Wrong about what specifically? About my ability to handle money? About my business sense? Please, enlighten me." "About everything." His voice cracked. "I watched your presentation at the conference. What you've built, it's incredible. Better than anything Dad's company ever did. Better than anything I could do." I leaned back in my chair, studying him. "Why are you really here, Mason?" "I'm broke," he admitted. "The company, Dad's company, I ran it into the ground. I made bad decisions, trusted the wrong people. Last week I had to lay off half the staff. And now you want a job from your little sister? The dreamer? The one who needed protecting from herself?" He looked down at his hands. "I deserve that. I deserve worse. But I'm asking for a chance. Any position, any role, I'll start at the bottom if I have to." A memory flashed. Me in my cleaning uniform, mopping floors, watching and learning. I pressed a button on my phone. "Layla, please bring in the janitorial staff application." Mason's head snapped up. "What?" "You said any position," I reminded him. "Did you mean it?" I have an MBA, years of experience. "And I had an art history degree when you left me with nothing," I cut in. "You want to prove yourself? Start where I started." Layla brought in the application. Mason stared at it for a long moment before slowly reaching for the pen. "One condition," I added. "You don't tell anyone you're my brother. You earn everything on your own merit, just like I did." He nodded, beginning to fill out the form. "The other employees, they don't know?" "Only my executive team knows, and they're loyal to me, not you." As he wrote, I noticed his hands trembling slightly. "When can I start?" "Monday, 6 a.m. sharp. Layla will show you out." After he left, Isabella came back in. "A janitor? Really?" "It's perfect," Taylor said, entering from the side door where she'd been listening. "Let him learn humility the hard way." "Are you sure about this?" Isabella asked, "having him here, watching him every day?" I walked to the window, watching Mason leave the building. He looked up, seeing me there, and for a moment I remembered us as kids, him pushing me on the swing in our backyard, promising to always look out for me. "You know what Dad used to say?" I turned to my friends. "That the true measure of a person isn't how they handle success, but how they handle starting over." "And you want to see if Mason can start over?" Taylor concluded. "No," I corrected her. "I want to see if he can earn his way back. Not just to success, but to being my brother again." Isabella squeezed my hand. "Monday should be interesting." I looked at Mason's application on my desk. Monday will be just the beginning. 3 months into Mason's new role, I watched through my office window as he mopped the lobby floor. His once manicured hands were rough from cleaning chemicals, his designer haircut grown out. "He's actually good at it," Layla said, bringing in my morning coffee. "Never complains, always shows up early. The other cleaning staff love him." "Any idea they're working with a former CEO?" "None. He keeps to himself mostly." "Though," she hesitated. "What is it?" Yesterday I saw him helping the cafeteria staff during lunch rush, voluntarily. Said he noticed they were understaffed. I was about to respond when Isabella burst in. We have a problem, a big one. She closed the door behind her and lowered her voice. Remember those shady deals Mason made before his company tanked? They're coming back to haunt him, and potentially us. What do you mean? 2 men were asking about him in the lobby. They didn't look like businessmen, if you know what I mean. More like the kind of people who break kneecaps for a living. I pressed my intercom. Send Mason up, now. 5 minutes later, he stood in my office, still in his cleaning uniform, looking nervous. Sit down, I ordered. Tell me about Victor Santos. His face went pale. How do you answer the question? He slumped in the chair. I borrowed money from him when the company was failing. He's not the kind of lender you find at a bank. How much? 2 million. I stood up, pacing. And now his collectors are sniffing around my company, putting my employees at risk. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'll leave. Find somewhere else. No. The word came out sharper than I intended. Running away is what got you into this mess. Tell me everything. Now. For the next hour, Mason laid out the whole sorry tale. Bad investments, desperate decisions, loans from people who charged interest by the week. By the end, I felt sick. These people, I said slowly, they're dangerous? He nodded. Victor has a reputation. He doesn't just take money as payment. Sometimes he demands favors, business information, trade secrets. And now you work for his biggest competitor. I connected the dots. He thinks you're here to spy for him. I would never... Save it. I pressed my intercom again. Taylor, my office. Now. Taylor arrived moments later, taking in the scene. Finally dealing with the Santos situation, I spun to face her. You knew? I keep tabs on all potential threats. She shrugged. Was waiting to see if Mason would come clean about it. I turned back to my brother. Here's what's going to happen. Taylor, call our lawyers. Mason, you're going to tell them everything. Every detail, every document, every conversation. It won't matter, he said. Victor doesn't care about legal... No, I cut him off. But the FBI does. And I'm betting Victor has enough enemies that they'd love to build a case. You'd do that? Mason looked up. Help me? After everything? I'm not doing it for you, I said coldly. I'm protecting my company, my employees. But as I watched him leave with Taylor to meet the lawyers, I remembered something else. A night long ago, when I was 12 and terrified of the dark. Mason had sat outside my door all night, keeping watch, making sure I felt safe. Later that evening, as I was preparing to leave, I saw Mason finishing his shift. He was moving slower, exhausted from the day's events. Hey, I called out. He turned. You missed a spot. He looked where I was pointing, then back at me, confused. Under the security desk, I explained. There's a camera there. If Victor's people come back, we need a clear view. Understanding dawned on his face. I'll take care of it. Mason? He paused. Next time something like this happens, tell me before it shows up at our door. Our door? He asked quietly. I didn't answer, just turned and walked away. But we both knew something had shifted. The next morning, I found a cup of coffee on my desk, made exactly how Mom used to make it for us. The note beside it read, "Thank you for not giving up on me, even if I deserved it." I took a sip, surprised to find my hands shaking. The coffee was perfect, just like Mom's. Maybe some things could be rebuilt after all. The FBI sting took 3 weeks to set up. I watched from my office as Mason met with Victor's men in our company lobby, wearing a wire under his janitor's uniform. You're sure about this? Isabella asked, standing beside me. If anything goes wrong... It won't, I said with more confidence than I felt. The meeting started normally enough. 2 men in expensive suits trying to look casual while talking to a janitor. But I could see Mason's hands shaking as he mopped around them. Boss wants his money, the taller one said, just loud enough for the wire to pick up. Or the information, your choice. I told you, Mason replied. I need more time. Time's up. The shorter man stepped closer. Victor knows you're working for Wolf Tech now. Either you start feeding us their trade secrets or... The FBI burst in right on cue. Within seconds, the lobby erupted into chaos. Agents swarmed in from every entrance. The two men tried to run, only to find more agents waiting outside. But something went wrong. A third man, one we hadn't known about, emerged from the bathroom. He took one look at the scene and charged straight at Mason. I was moving before I could think. The elevator would take too long. I ran for the stairs, taking them two at a time. "You rat!" the man screamed, throwing Mason against a wall. "You're dead!" I burst into the lobby just as he pulled something from his jacket. The metal of a gun caught the fluorescent lights. "Hey," I shouted. Everyone froze. The man turned, gun wavering between Mason and me. "You must be the sister," he sneered. "Victor sends his regards." "Tell Victor he can have his money," I said steadily. $2 million plus interest. I'll wire it right now." Too late for that. He aimed at Mason. "Boss wants to send a message." "Shoot him. You'll never see a penny." I stepped closer. "Kill him, and I'll spend every dollar I have making sure Victor goes down. Or—" I pulled out my phone, take the money, and walk away with a win. His eyes darted between us. Mason was still against the wall, bleeding from where he'd hit his head. $3 million, the man countered. "Wire it now." "Done." I pulled up my banking app. "Account number?" Just then, an FBI agent tackled him from behind. The gun went flying. More agents swarmed in, and within moments, all three of Victor's men were in custody. I ran to Mason. "You okay?" He touched his head, wincing. "Why did you do that? Put yourself at risk." "Because you're my brother, you idiot." The paramedics insisted on checking him out. As they worked, an FBI agent approached me. "Ms. Wolf, we got them all, including Victor. Your brother's testimony and the wire recording will put them away for a long time." I nodded, watching Mason argue with a paramedic about going to the hospital. "Some family drama you got here," the agent added. "Don't see many CEOs offering to pay millions to save the janitor." "He's not just—" I stopped. "Actually, he's one of our most valuable employees." Later that night, after the chaos had died down and Mason had been cleared by the doctors, I found him cleaning up the mess in the lobby. "You don't have to do that," I said. "Go home. Rest." "I want to." He wrung out his mop. "Helps me think." "About what?" "About how I ended up here, cleaning floors in the company my sister built while she offers to pay my debts. Again." "Mason—" "No, let me finish." He leaned on his mop. 5 years ago, I thought I was protecting you from failure. Instead, I was the one who failed. At business, at being a brother, at everything Dad taught us about integrity." I sat on a nearby chair. "You know what the difference is between us? When I failed, when you took everything, I learned from it, grew from it. And I just kept making the same mistakes." He nodded. "Until now." "Until now," I agreed. "So what happens next?" he asked. "With the company? With us?" I stood up, straightening my jacket. "That depends. Are you done making messes I have to clean up?" For the first time in years, I saw a genuine smile cross his face. "I think I'm better at cleaning up messes these days." "Good." I headed for the door, then paused. "By the way, the project management position is opening up again next month, if you're interested in applying." "Really?" "You'll have to interview like everyone else," I warned. "No special treatment." "I wouldn't want it any other way," he said softly. As I left, I heard the steady swish of his mop resume. My brother, cleaning floors in my company. Sometimes karma works in mysterious ways. "The position is yours," I said, closing Mason's interview file. "If you want it." He sat across from me in the conference room, where he'd just finished his final interview for the project management role. The panel of department heads had voted unanimously in his favor, not knowing he was my brother. "They chose me fairly?" he asked. "No influence from you?" "None. Though I have to admit, your presentation on improving our supply chain efficiency was impressive." He smiled slightly. "I learned from the best. Watching you build all this taught me more than my MBA ever did." Isabella knocked and entered with a stack of papers. "Sorry to interrupt, but the acquisition papers are ready for your signature, Celeste." Mason stood to leave, but I stopped him. "Stay. You should see this." I signed the papers with a flourish, then slid them across to Isabella. "Make sure these get to the lawyers today." "What did I just witness?" Mason asked. "I just bought Dad's company." I watched his face carefully. "Or what's left of it." He sank back into his chair. "You... what? The company you ran into the ground?" I'm going to rebuild it, not because I need to, but because it was Dad's legacy. And maybe it's time both his children honored that legacy. Together. Together? His voice cracked. You'd trust me with that? Trust is earned, I said firmly, and you've earned back some of it. The question is, can you handle working under your little sister's leadership? Before he could answer, Layla rushed in. Sorry to interrupt, but you need to see this. She turned on the conference room TV. A breaking news story showed Victor and his associates being led into court in handcuffs. Crime boss Victor Santos and associates indicted on multiple charges, the newscaster announced. Sources say testimony from a former business associate was crucial in breaking the case. I muted the TV. Looks like you're finally free of them. Mason watched the screen. Because of you. You saved me, even after everything I did. That's what family does, I said simply. Or at least, that's what family should do. I've been thinking about that night, he said quietly. When I drove away with everything. I told myself I was protecting you, but really, I was scared. Scared you'd succeed where I might fail. Scared you'd make Dad prouder than I ever could. And now? Now I know I was right about one thing. You didn't need that inheritance to succeed. You did it all on your own. Not entirely on my own, I corrected him. I had help. Christian, Taylor, Isabella. People who believed in me when my own brother didn't. He flinched at that, but I continued. The difference is, they supported me without trying to control me. They helped me grow instead of holding me back. I understand that now. He straightened in his chair. So, about the project management position and Dad's company, what exactly did you have in mind? I pulled out a business plan I'd been working on. We rebuild it from the ground up, not as a subsidiary of WolfTech, but as a partner company. Separate but allied. You'll run point on the project, reporting directly to me. That's generous. It's practical, I corrected. You know that business inside and out. And despite everything, you're still a wolf. We just need to do things differently this time. How? With integrity, with innovation, and most importantly, together. He nodded slowly. I'd like that. But Celeste, I need to say something I should have said a long time ago. He met my eyes. I'm sorry. Not just for taking the inheritance, but for underestimating you. For trying to clip your wings instead of helping you fly. I know, I said softly. I forgave you the day you put on that janitor's uniform and actually tried to earn your way back. Taylor poked her head in. Sorry to interrupt this touching moment, but the board is waiting. I stood up, ready to face them, as a team this time. Mason straightened his tie. Lead the way, little sister. As we walked to the boardroom, I caught our reflection in the glass walls. The two of us side by side, finally walking in the same direction. Not as rivals, not as victor and vanquished, but as siblings who had found their way back to each other. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. Sometimes it's about growing beyond the person who wronged you, and helping them grow too. Hey, Mason, I said as we reached the boardroom doors. Yeah? Welcome home. He smiled, and for a moment, I saw the brother I used to know. The one who would push me on the swings and check for monsters under my bed. The one I'd finally found again. The one who was finally ready to follow instead of lead.
I knew something was wrong the moment I put my key in the lock and heard music playing inside my apartment. After 2 weeks away on a business trip, all I wanted was to collapse into my own bed. Instead, I found my sister sprawled on my couch, scrolling through her phone while my grandmother's antique lamps had been shoved into a corner. My name is Olive, and I'm an interior architect who spent the last 3 years turning this apartment into my sanctuary. Every paint color, every piece of furniture, every carefully curated detail represented not just my taste, but my independence. Vienna? I dropped my suitcase. What are you doing here? She barely glanced up. Oh, hey, Mom and Dad said I could move in. You're barely here anyway. Always traveling for work and stuff. The room spun slightly. They said you could move in to my apartment? Yeah. She gestured around with perfectly manicured nails. I'm thinking of painting these walls pink. This beige is so boring, and that vintage furniture has to go. It's totally throwing off my Instagram aesthetic. I steadied myself against the door frame. You can't just... Don't be dramatic, Olive. Mom said you'd act like this. Vienna rolled her eyes. They already helped me move most of my stuff in. Check the spare room. I rushed to my home office, my hands shaking. The room where I did my best design work, where I kept my grandmother's old writing desk, had been transformed into a chaotic explosion of Vienna's clothes and makeup. My drafting table was buried under shopping bags. Where are my work materials? I managed to ask. Oh, those boring blueprints and stuff? Mom packed them in boxes. They're in the storage unit downstairs. I pulled out my phone and called my mother. She answered on the first ring as if waiting. Mom, why is Vienna in my apartment? Olive, don't start. Her voice took on that familiar condescending tone. Your sister needed a fresh start after her breakup, and you're never there anyway. It's selfish to keep an entire apartment to yourself when family needs help. But it's my apartment, which we helped you get, she cut in. Remember who co-signed your lease? Your father and I think it's time you learned to share. Vienna's going through a difficult time. When is she not? I muttered. I heard that. This attitude of yours, always thinking you're better than everyone. Patricia? My father's voice in the background. Let me talk to her. Nelson, I've got this handled. I ended the call and turned to find Vienna watching me with that same smug expression she'd worn since childhood, whenever she'd broken something of mine and known she'd get away with it. You should see your face right now, she giggled, so serious. Mom said you'd throw a fit, but honestly, this is good for you. You need to learn to be more flexible. I walked to my bedroom. At least this space was still untouched. Sitting on my bed, I pulled out my phone again and opened my contacts. My finger hovered over my cousin Emerson's name. Vienna appeared in the doorway. By the way, I'm having some friends over tonight to celebrate the move. You should join us, unless you're going to be all weird and antisocial like usual. Something inside me shifted. All those years of being the difficult daughter, the one who didn't fit the mold, who worked too hard and smiled too little, they crystallized into a cold, clear purpose. No, I said quietly, I don't think I will be joining. Your loss. She shrugged. Oh, and I borrowed your good wine for tonight. Hope that's cool. I waited until she bounced away before typing a message to Emerson. Need your legal expertise. Family situation. How soon can we meet? The response came quickly. Tomorrow morning, my office, 9 a.m. What's wrong? I looked around my bedroom, remembering my grandmother's words the day before she died. Olive, my dear, I've made arrangements. When the time comes, you'll understand. Another text from Vienna lit up my phone. BTW, your clothes are taking up too much closet space. Move them to the guest room. XOXO. My fingers flew across the screen to Emerson. They forgot something important about me. I don't scream anymore. I document. I got up and grabbed my camera, starting with photos of the chaos in my office. They wanted a war? Fine. But it would be fought my way, with quiet precision and perfect documentation. Let them think I'd rolled over again. I'd learned long ago that revenge doesn't announce itself with a bang. It whispers. Emerson's law office was exactly what you'd expect from someone who'd escaped our family's drama. Minimalist, organized, and completely devoid of the artificial warmth my mother insisted on surrounding herself with. They did what? Emerson's coffee cup froze halfway to her mouth as I finished explaining. Moved her in while I was away, I repeated, spreading out the photos I'd taken. Look at what she's done to my office in just 2 weeks. That's, Emerson set her cup down carefully. That's actually illegal. Several kinds of illegal, in fact. She pulled out her laptop. Let me pull up something. Your grandmother came to see me about 6 months before she passed. I blinked. She did. Remember how she insisted on paying for your apartment's down payment? Emerson's fingers flew across the keyboard. There's something you need to see. She turned the screen toward me. There, in crisp legal language, was a document I'd never seen before. My name was all over it. Your grandmother didn't just help you buy that apartment, Emerson said quietly. She left it to you completely in her will. The room went still. But my parents, they said they co-signed the lease. They lied. Emerson's voice was flat. They've been lying about a lot of things. While I was looking into this, I found something else. She pulled out a thick folder. Your trust fund statements. My stomach dropped. What about them? 3 years ago, there was a significant withdrawal, nearly half the account. She spread out bank statements. The signatures look questionable. I remember that time. Vienna had crashed her second car, needed money to start fresh in her fashion business venture. Mom had been especially nice to me that month, bringing me lunch at work, asking about my projects. They used my trust fund to bail out Vienna. My voice sounded distant to my own ears. It gets worse. Emerson leaned forward. The apartment's deed has only your name on it. They've been pretending to have legal rights they don't have. Your grandmother made sure of that. Why wouldn't she tell me? Because she knew you'd tell them. You always told them everything, Olive, until now. I stood up, pacing the office. So what do? First, we document everything. Then, Emerson smiled grimly, we go nuclear. Legally speaking, of course. For the next 2 hours, we built a case. Every unauthorized withdrawal, every forged document, every lie carefully cataloged. My phone buzzed repeatedly, Vienna complaining about the Wi-Fi password being changed, Mom demanding I stop being childish. One more thing, Emerson said, pulling out another document. Your grandmother left a will addendum. Your mother tried to suppress it, but Harold Wilkins kept a copy. I read it slowly, my hands shaking. To my dearest Olive, I've watched them dim your light for years. This apartment is yours, free and clear. Don't let anyone tell you different. Sometimes the kindest hearts need the strongest shields. Love, Grandma. She knew, I whispered. She knew they'd try something like this. Your grandmother was nobody's fool. Emerson started preparing legal documents. Now we have options. We can go straight to eviction, or we can... My phone rang. Mom again. I answered on speaker. Olive, Vienna says you changed the Wi-Fi password. This is childish behavior. Mom, I interrupted calmly, I need you to listen carefully. I'm at my lawyer's office. Silence. We found some interesting documents about the apartment, about my trust fund. Whatever that cousin of yours is telling you, goodbye, Mom. I hung up. Well, Emerson said, that should give them something to think about. Ready for phase 2? I nodded, picking up my grandmother's letter again. No yelling, no splashing. I want them to drown in silence. That's poetic and slightly terrifying. Emerson started printing documents. I'll have these ready by morning. Eviction notice, cease and desist, everything. My phone lit up with texts from Vienna. Mom's crying because of you? Why are you being such a bitch? I already told everyone this is my new place. I turned off my phone and looked at Emerson. How long will all this take? To completely resolve, a few weeks. But to start? She handed me a stack of papers. You can serve these tonight, 72 hours to vacate. I stood up, gathering my things. They always said I was a difficult daughter, the cold one, the one who couldn't just go with the flow. Well, Emerson replied, let's show them exactly how difficult you can be, legally speaking, of course. I left her office with a briefcase full of documents and a heart full of ice. They wanted the real Olive. They were about to meet her. I returned to my apartment with calculated indifference. ignoring the sound of Vienna's voice carrying through the door as she recorded another TikTok video using my living room as her backdrop. I took photos of everything: the scratches on my hardwood floors from her moving furniture, the nail holes in my carefully painted walls, the wine stains on my grandmother's Persian rug. "Oh my God, you're being so creepy right now," Vienna said, lowering her phone. "Why are you taking pictures?" "Just documenting the changes you've made." I kept my voice neutral. "Love what you've done with the place." She preened, missing my sarcasm entirely. "Right? I'm thinking of painting this wall hot pink. It'll look amazing for my lifestyle content." "Interesting choice." I snapped another photo. "And the antique mirror?" "That old thing. I sold it online. It didn't match my aesthetic." My grandmother's mirror. I added that to my mental tally and took out my phone, typing a quick message to Emerson. "Hey," Vienna called out, "since you're being weird anyway, can you Venmo me for the cleaning service? They're coming tomorrow to replace all these dusty old rugs." I looked up slowly. "You hired cleaners?" "Yeah, Mom said to just send you the bill. It's only like $2,000. My phone buzzed. A text from Dad. "Can we talk? Coffee at Marcel's?" I studied the message. Dad had always been the quiet enabler, the one who watched from the sidelines as Mom and Vienna ran their schemes. But something in his message felt different. "Sure," I texted back. 30 minutes. Marcel's was our old spot where he used to take me for hot chocolate after my piano recitals, before Vienna decided she wanted to be a musician and suddenly my lessons weren't important anymore. Dad was already there when I arrived, looking older than I remembered. "Olive," he said softly, standing to pull out my chair. "Thank you for coming." "You wanted to talk?" I kept my voice level. He wrapped his hands around his coffee cup. "Your mother. She doesn't know I'm here." "And?" "The trust fund," he said quietly. "I knew about it. I signed the papers." I sat very still, letting his confession hang in the air. "She said it was temporary," he continued, "that we'd pay it back before you ever knew, but then Vienna needed more help, and you chose her." "Again?" He flinched. "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like, Dad? Explain it to me." "Your mother, when she gets an idea in her head." He trailed off, staring into his coffee. "I should have protected you more." "Yes," I said simply. "You should have." "Can we fix this?" He looked up, hopeful. "Maybe we can work something out. Keep it in the family." "The family?" I pulled out my phone and showed him the photos. The family that moved someone into my home without permission. The family that sold my grandmother's mirror. That family. "Vienna did what?" His face paled. "The mirror from your grandmother's estate. Sold it for her aesthetic." I put my phone away. "Did you know the apartment is mine? Legally? Grandmother left it to me in her will." He closed his eyes. "Patricia said she'd handled the will, that everything was split equally." "More lies." I stood up. "You know what hurts the most, Dad? Not that Mom plays favorites. Not that Vienna takes whatever she wants. It's that you saw it all and did nothing." "Olive, please." "I have something for Vienna," I said, pulling out an envelope. "Since you're here, you can watch me deliver it." We walked back to the apartment in silence. Vienna was still recording videos, now wearing one of my designer blazers. "Is that my clothes?" I asked quietly. "Oh, please." She rolled her eyes. "Like you ever wear the good stuff. I'm actually doing them justice." I handed her the envelope. "Here, you have 72 hours. What's this?" She tore it open, her expression changing as she read. "An eviction notice? Are you insane?" 3 days, I repeated. "Everything out, including my clothes, my furniture, and anything else you've borrowed." "Daddy!" She turned to our father, who stood silently by the door. Tell her she can't do this. Actually, I said, I can, and I am. Oh, in Vienna? That cleaning service you hired? Cancel it. You're not authorized to make changes to my property. Your property? She laughed shrilly. Mom and Dad have no legal right to this apartment, never did. I turned to leave, then paused. In Vienna? That blazer you're wearing? It's worth more than your entire social media career. I want it dry cleaned and returned tomorrow. I walked out, leaving them both standing there. My phone was already buzzing with Mom's incoming call, but I didn't answer. Let them panic. Let them scramble. I had all the time in the world. The explosion came exactly as I'd predicted. Less than 12 hours after serving the eviction notice, my mother burst into the apartment with Harold Wilkins, our family lawyer, trailing behind her like an apologetic shadow. This ends now, Mom announced, brandishing papers. I brought Harold to sort out this ridiculous situation. Vienna stood behind her, eyes red and puffy from what I assumed was a night of strategic crying. I remained seated at my grandmother's writing desk, the only piece of furniture they hadn't dared to move. Harold, I nodded politely. I assume you brought the documents my mother requested? He cleared his throat, looking uncomfortable. Yes, well, about that. Show her, Mom interrupted. Show her the lease agreement we co-signed. I opened my laptop. Before you do that, I have something you might want to see. I turned the screen, displaying the property deed with my name on it. And this. Another click revealed my grandmother's notarized will, and especially this. The final document, the suppressed addendum. Harold's face went ash white. You knew about this, Mom accused him. You knew and you didn't tell us? Patricia, he said quietly, I tried to tell you multiple times. The property was legally transferred to Olive before your mother passed. There was nothing to contest. Vienna stepped forward. But that's not fair. She doesn't even use it properly. You need? I stood up slowly. Let's talk about needs, Vienna. Let's talk about my trust fund. Mom's face tightened. That's different. That was a family emergency. Taking half my inheritance without my knowledge or consent was an emergency? Your sister needed... No, I cut her off. What Vienna needed was consequences. What she got was enablers. How dare you? Mom stepped closer, finger raised. After everything we've done for you? Everything you've done to me, I corrected. The gaslighting, the manipulation, the theft. Theft? She laughed hysterically. We're your parents. Which makes it worse. I turned to Harold. You have something to say? He nodded, pulling out a document. I need to formally disclose. I was pressured to withhold information about the will. I've already submitted my statement to the Bar Association. You're betraying us too? Mom's voice rose to a shriek. No, Patricia, I'm finally doing my job properly. He turned to me. The apartment is legally yours. Always has been. And about the trust fund, we can discuss that with the forensic accountant, I said calmly. Vienna burst into tears. You're ruining everything. I just needed a fresh start. You've had dozens of fresh starts, I replied. This time you're getting a hard stop. 72 hours, remember? Clock's ticking. Patricia, Harold interjected, I strongly advise you to comply with the eviction notice. Given the circumstances, given what circumstances? A new voice asked. We all turned to see Eric, my ex-boyfriend, standing in the doorway. Vienna's face went from red to white in an instant. Eric? I hadn't seen him in 2 years. What are you doing here? I heard. He started, then saw Vienna. Something passed between them, a look that made my stomach turn. Oh, I said softly, I see. Olive, he stepped forward. I can explain. No need. I turned back to my family. You have 62 hours left. I suggest you use them wisely. This isn't over, Mom hissed, gathering her designer bag. You'll regret this behavior, Olive. Family is forever. Funny, I replied, watching them all file out. That's my line. As the door closed behind them, I sank into my chair, letting out a long breath. My phone buzzed. Emerson. How did it go? Exactly as expected. Harold folded. Mom threatened. Vienna cried. And Eric showed up. A pause. Oh, shit. Yeah. I looked around my violated apartment. Hey, Em, remember when you said we could go nuclear? Ready when you are. I've got the civil fraud paperwork ready to file. I thought about Eric and Vienna's guilty look, about years of manipulation and theft, about my grandmother's mirror sold for pocket change. Do it, I said. File everything. It'll get ugly. It's been ugly for years. I stood up, walking to the window. I just hid it better than they did. Olive, Emerson's voice softened. You okay? I watched my mother's car pull away, Vienna in the passenger seat, both of them probably already plotting their next move. But I had all the cards now, and they didn't even know which game we were playing. I'm fine, I replied, just thinking about what color to paint the walls after they're gone. As I hung up, a text from Eric lit up my screen. We need to talk. There's something you should know. I deleted it without replying. Whatever he had to say could wait. Right now, I had an apartment to reclaim and a family to dismantle. Let them think they still had moves left to make. The game was already over. They just didn't know it yet. Eric was waiting outside my building the next morning, looking exactly like he had 2 years ago when I'd ended things. Rumpled blazer, anxious hands, guilty eyes. 5 minutes, I said, checking my watch. That's all you get. I should have told you about Vienna. He fell into step beside me as I walked toward the coffee shop. It happened after we broke up. Did it? I kept walking, because the timeline I'm piecing together suggests otherwise. He stopped short. What do you mean? Vienna's old phone. I turned to face him. The one she left logged into my laptop last night. Interesting text history. His face fell. Olive, you were seeing her while we were together. She told you things about me, private things I'd shared with you in confidence. She said you didn't care about me, he blurted, that you were just using me as a placeholder while you focused on your career. I laughed, the sound sharp in the morning air. And you believed her? The sister who once told our entire family I cheated on my SATs because I scored higher than she did? I was stupid. He reached for my arm. I stepped back. Yes, you were. But that's not why you're here, is it? Vienna asked you to talk to me. His silence was answer enough. Let me guess. She wants more time to move out? Maybe suggested you could convince me to let her stay? She's changed, he tried. She's not the same person. You're right about that. She's worse. I checked my watch again. 2 minutes left. Your mother is devastated. He switched tactics. They're your family, Olive. You can't just cut them off. Watch me. I pulled out my phone, showing him the text Vienna had sent him 2 years ago. Don't worry, baby. I'll make sure Olive never finds out. She's so caught up in her work she probably won't even notice you're gone. He paled. How did you? I'm an architect, Eric. I build things. But first, I make sure the foundation is solid. I put my phone away. Time's up. Wait, he called after me. There's more you should know. I kept walking, pulling out my phone to call Emerson. Ready to move forward? She answered. Do it. All of it. The civil fraud charges are already filed. Want me to proceed with the restraining order against Vienna? I thought about the hundreds of texts she'd sent overnight, ranging from threats to tearful apologies. Yes, and Mom, too. That's going to cause chaos at the country club, Emerson said with grim satisfaction. Perfect timing then. Isn't today her regular lunch with the board members? You're evil. I love it. Emerson paused. The process server is ready. Want me to make it extra public? I remembered every holiday where I was seated at the kids' table while Vienna held court with the adults. Every achievement of mine that was minimized while her failures were rebranded as brave attempts. Make it spectacular. 2 hours later, my phone exploded with notifications. Videos were already circulating of my mother being served legal papers in the middle of the country club dining room, right as she was giving her monthly social committee presentation. Vienna's frantic text started immediately. How could you do this to Mom? Everyone is talking about us. You've ruined everything. I blocked her number. Dad called next. I let it go to voicemail. Olive, please. Your mother is hysterical. We can work this out privately as a family. Call me back. Delete. Emerson sent me a video clip someone had posted. Mom, in her perfectly pressed designer suit, face contorting as she read the papers, the whispers of her social circle spreading like wildfire, her carefully curated image crumbling in real time. How does it feel? I texted back. Like watching karma in action, Emerson replied. But heads up, Vienna's posting about you on social media, playing victim hard. I checked Instagram. Sure enough, there was Vienna, tears perfectly staged, talking about toxic family members and healing journeys. Let her, I typed. The court documents will tell the real story. My phone lit up with an unknown number. Eric again. Stop calling, I answered. Whatever Vienna's offering you, it's not worth it. It's not that, he said quickly. She told me what they did with your trust fund. All of it, not just half. I sat down slowly. What? There's nothing left, Olive. They took everything. Vienna used it to invest in some crypto scheme last year. Lost it all. I ended the call and dialed Emerson. Get me everything, I said when she answered. Every bank record, every transaction. I don't care what it takes. Already on it, she replied. And Olive, this isn't just fraud anymore. This is grand theft. I looked out my office window watching the city buzz below. Good. Let's show them exactly what that means. The Holmes family implosion happened in stages, like a controlled demolition. First came the social media warfare, Vienna's tearful Instagram lives versus the leaked bank statements showing exactly where my trust fund had gone. Then came the family text chains, splitting into factions as relatives chose sides. I was in Emerson's office reviewing documents when Mom's sister, Aunt Rachel, called. Is it true? She demanded. About the crypto investments? Every penny, I replied. Want to see the receipts? Your mother's telling everyone you're having a mental breakdown, she said, that you're jealous of Vienna's success. I laughed. What success? Her failed fashion blog? Her TikTok account with bot followers? She showed up at my house this morning, Aunt Rachel continued, crying about how you're destroying the family. Then she asked to borrow money. Let me guess, for a business opportunity? $20,000. Said she'd pay me back double in 3 months. I pulled up Vienna's investment history on my laptop. Did she mention BitGold Ventures? Silence then. How did you know? Because she lost $60,000 of my money on it last year. I forwarded her the documents. Check your email. While Aunt Rachel read, my phone buzzed with a text from Dad. Your mother's moving out. Says she can't live with my weakness anymore. Please, Olive, make this stop. I ignored it. Oh, my God, Aunt Rachel breathed. Patricia helped her do this? Your own mother? Still think I'm having a breakdown? I'm calling everyone, she said. The whole family needs to know. I ended the call as Emerson walked in with fresh coffee and a thick folder. Harold Wilkins came through, she announced. Turns out he kept copies of everything, including this. She handed me a document. It was a letter from my grandmother to Harold, dated 1 week before she died. Patricia will try to take everything from Olive. She always has. Make sure my granddaughter's protected. The apartment is her fortress. They must never get their hands on it. Your grandmother was playing chess while they were playing checkers, Emerson said softly. My phone rang again. Vienna. What? I answered. I'm sorry. She was crying, but it sounded different this time. Real. I messed up, okay? I know I messed up. Please, can we talk? Face to face? No. Olive, please. Mom's gone crazy. She's saying it's all my fault, that I ruined everything. Dad won't even look at me. I have nowhere to go. You have 24 hours left to get your things out of my apartment, I replied. Use them wisely. I'll tell you everything, she begged. About Eric, about the money, about all of it. Just please don't do this. Too late. I hung up as Emerson's assistant rushed in. You need to see this, she said, turning on the office TV. There was Mom, ambushed by local news cameras outside her country club. The headline scrolled, Prominent Socialite Accused of Family Fund Misappropriation. Patricia, what do you say to allegations that you helped steal your daughter's inheritance? This is a private family matter, she snapped, trying to shield her face with her designer bag. Sources say the amount exceeds $500,000. Any comment? Mom's face contorted. My daughter is disturbed. She's always been jealous of her sister's natural talents. We have documents showing systematic theft over 3 years, the reporter pressed, including forged signatures and fraudulent investments. The camera caught Mom's expression shifting from defensive to panicked. Harold, she screamed off camera, do something. But Harold stepped into frame, looking directly at the camera. As the family's former legal counsel, I can confirm that all documents in question are authentic. Mom's screech of rage was cut off as Emerson muted the TV. Well, she said, that should make tomorrow's court hearing interesting. My phone lit up with a final text from Vienna. I'm leaving the keys under the mat. Everything's out. I really am sorry. Not that it matters now. I showed Emerson. Think she means it? Does it matter? No, I replied, standing up. I suppose it doesn't. I gathered my things, ready to reclaim my apartment, but Emerson caught my arm. Wait, she said. There's one more thing you should see. She handed me a USB drive. Security footage from your building's lobby from 6 months ago. You might want to watch who helped Vienna move in while you were away. I stared at the drive, suddenly understanding. Dad. Still want to answer his texts? I pocketed the drive without a word. Let him keep texting. Let Mom keep screaming at reporters. Let Vienna keep apologizing. I was done listening to any of them. The courthouse hallway buzzed with whispers as I walked in, Emerson at my side. Mom sat with her lawyer, her usually perfect makeup slightly smeared, while Vienna huddled in a corner with Dad. They all watched me pass without saying a word. Remember, Emerson murmured, let me do the talking. The judge, a stern-faced woman in her 60s, reviewed our documents with methodical precision. Mom's new lawyer, an expensive-looking man in a tailored suit, tried to argue for more time. Your Honor, this is a family matter that could be resolved privately. Counsel, the judge interrupted. I'm looking at bank statements showing systematic theft of over $500,000. This stopped being a family matter the moment fraud occurred. Mom stood up suddenly. I am her mother. Everything I did was to help my daughters. Mrs. Holmes, sit down, the judge ordered, or I'll have you removed. I kept my eyes forward as Mom sank back into her seat, sniffling dramatically. The evidence is clear, the judge continued. The apartment belongs solely to Olive. The trust fund was illegally accessed, And these investment documents? She held up Vienna's crypto paperwork. This is textbook fraud. Vienna burst into tears. Dad tried to comfort her, but she shrugged him off. Your Honor? Mom's lawyer tried again. My client is willing to work out a payment plan. With what money? Emerson stood. Their assets are already frozen. Mrs. Holmes has been using credit cards to maintain appearances, and Miss Vienna Holmes hasn't held a job in 3 years. The judge nodded. I'm granting the immediate return of property, full restitution of funds where possible, and... She paused, reviewing another document. The restraining orders are approved. Restraining orders? Dad's voice cracked. Olive, please. Mr. Holmes, the judge warned, this is not a dialogue. I finally turned to look at them, my family, the people who were supposed to protect me. Mom's face was a mask of fury. Vienna looked shell-shocked. Dad just looked old and defeated. The defendant, Patricia Holmes, is ordered to maintain a distance of no less than 500 feet from the plaintiff, the judge read. The same applies to Vienna Holmes. Any violation will result in immediate arrest. You can't do this, Mom shrieked, jumping up again. I am her mother. Remove Mrs. Holmes, the judge ordered. 2 court officers stepped forward. As they led Mom out, her screams echoing down the hallway, Vienna approached me. Don't, Emerson warned, stepping between us. Vienna's voice was small. I found Grandma's mirror. I can get it back. Add it to the restitution list, Emerson replied coldly. Dad made one last attempt, reaching for my hand. Sweetheart, we're still family. I pulled away. No, we're not. The judge's gavel cracked through the air. Court is adjourned. Olive? I turned back. Your grandmother was a friend of mine, she said quietly. She'd be proud of you today. Outside the courthouse, reporters waited with cameras. Mom was already giving her version to anyone who'd listen, mascara running down her face. They've turned my daughter against me, she wailed, after everything I sacrificed. Mrs. Holmes, a reporter called out, what about the forged signatures, the unauthorized investments? And the apartment deed, another added. Why pretend to have legal rights you didn't possess? I walked past them all, head high, saying nothing. Let Mom spin her stories. The court records would speak for themselves. Emerson caught up with me at the car. Vienna's posting on Instagram again, playing victim, saying she's learning and growing from this experience. Of course she is. I checked my phone. Dozens of messages from flying monkeys, family friends, distant relatives, all taking sides. I deleted them all. Dad's still trying to call, Emerson noted. Let him. I started the car. He had 29 years to make the right choice. He made the wrong one every time. Where to now? I thought about my apartment, empty of their presence at last, about my grandmother's mirror, soon to be returned, about all the spaces they'd invaded and claimed as their own. Home, I said simply. I'm going home. As we drove away, I caught a last glimpse of them in my rearview mirror. Mom surrounded by cameras, Vienna clutching her designer bag like a shield, Dad standing alone on the courthouse steps. They looked small, insignificant, finally powerless. My phone buzzed one last time, a text from Dad. I'm sorry. I know it's too late, but I'm sorry. I clicked it off without responding. He was right about one thing. It was too late. The smell of fresh paint filled my apartment as I carefully touched up the last wall. Gone were Vienna's attempts at hot pink, replaced by the soft sage green my grandmother had always loved. Each brush stroke felt like reclaiming another piece of my space. My phone buzzed. Emerson sending updates. Mom had finally moved out of the family house, leaving Dad with nothing but carefully curated photos of a perfect family that never existed. Vienna's social media influencer career had imploded after her followers discovered the truth. The restitution payments were trickling in, garnished from what little assets they had left. A knock at the door made me pause. Through the peephole, I saw Eric shifting nervously. "What do you want?" I called through the door. "To return something," he replied. I opened the door cautiously. In his hands was my grandmother's mirror, carefully wrapped. "Vienna left it at my place," he explained. "I thought, well, I knew it was important to you. I took it without inviting him in. Thank you." "Olive, don't." I met his eyes. "Just don't." He nodded slowly. "For what it's worth, I was wrong. About everything." "Yes," I agreed. "You were." After he left, I unwrapped the mirror carefully, checking for damage. My reflection looked different somehow. Harder, clearer, more defined. Another knock. This time it was Emerson carrying takeout and a bottle of wine. "Housewarming gift," she announced, walking in, "even though it's the same house." "It's not, though," I said, setting the mirror aside. "Not anymore." We settled on my newly reupholstered couch, another piece rescued from Vienna's aesthetic makeover. "Dad called my office again," Emerson mentioned, pouring the wine. "Asked if you'd gotten the package he sent." I glanced at the unopened box on my counter. "Haven't checked it." "Want me to?" I nodded. Emerson retrieved the package and opened it carefully. Inside was a small wooden box I recognized from my childhood, my grandmother's jewelry box. "There's a letter," Emerson said softly. I took it, unfolding the paper slowly. "Olive, your grandmother gave me this box before she died, said to give it to you when you finally stood up for yourself. I never had the courage to do what you did. I'm not asking for forgiveness, just wanted you to have what's rightfully yours." Dad. Inside the box was my grandmother's sapphire ring, the one Mom had always claimed was promised to Vienna. "Looks like Grandma had one last surprise," Emerson said. A final knock interrupted us. Through the peephole, I saw Harold Wilkins. "Just dropping off the last of the paperwork," he said when I opened the door. "And there's something else." He handed me an envelope. Inside was a letter dated just days before my grandmother died. "My dearest Olive, by the time you read this, you'll have finally seen them for who they are. It hurt, watching them dim your light year after year, but I knew you'd find your strength. The apartment isn't just a home, it's proof that you never needed their permission to shine. They'll call you cruel for standing up to them, cold for walking away. Let them. Some people only understand boundaries when they crash into them at full speed. The sapphire ring isn't just jewelry, it's a reminder. Every time you wear it, remember, you are not what they made you survive. You are what you chose to become. Protect your peace, my darling. They won't. All my love, Grandma." I slipped the ring onto my finger as Emerson poured more wine. "To Grandma," she said, raising her glass, "the original chess master." "To boundaries," I added, "and consequences." My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. Vienna trying yet another way to reach me. I blocked it without reading it. "You know," Emerson said, "that sage green really does look better than hot pink." I looked around my reclaimed space, at the antique furniture restored to its proper place, at my grandmother's mirror catching the evening light, at the walls painted in colors I chose. "It does," I agreed. "It really does." The ring caught the light as I raised my glass again. Outside, the city hummed with life, but in here, in my fortress, there was only peace. The kind of peace that comes from finally, completely letting go. They say home is where the heart is, but sometimes home is where you learn your heart is stronger than anyone ever knew, even yourself, especially yourself.
The text message lit up my phone at exactly 9:47 a.m., right in the middle of my quarterly budget review call. I remember the time precisely because that's when my husband of 10 years decided to tell me he'd cleaned out our savings account. Surprise, darling. Remember that luxury resort in Bali we always dreamed of? Well, I'm heading there now with her. Oh, and I emptied our joint savings to pay for it. Have fun being broke. LOL. My name is Alina, and this is the story of how my husband's perfect escape turned into his perfect nightmare. I kept my voice steady as I wrapped up the conference call, discussing donation allocations with our biggest nonprofit partners. Yes, the third quarter projections look promising. I'll send over the updated spreadsheets this afternoon. My colleague Maria's voice crackled through the speaker. Everything okay, Alina? You sound a bit off. Never better, I replied, clicking my pen rhythmically against the desk, just processing some unexpected news. The truth was, I'd been processing for months. The first red flag appeared when Christian started coming home late, reeking of expensive perfume I'd never worn. Then came the business dinners that somehow never had receipts, the hushed phone calls in our garage, and finally the lipstick-stained cocktail napkin I found in his suit jacket. Last week, he'd been especially attentive, bringing me coffee in bed, massaging my shoulders while I worked from home. Baby, I need you to sign these investment documents, he'd said, sliding papers across our kitchen island. Just some routine stuff for the new venture. I signed them all, watching his face carefully for that subtle twitch in his left eye, his tell when he was lying. It was there, clear as day. My phone buzzed again. This time it was my sister Kendall. Tell me you've seen it, she said without preamble. His grand announcement? Just got it. That smug bastard actually did it. I'm coming over. No need, I said, opening my laptop and clicking on a secure folder labeled Exit Plan V3.0. Everything's already in motion. What do you mean? I smiled, though no one was there to see it. Remember when Christian invested 50 grand with his cousin last year? The money that mysteriously vanished? Yeah, you were devastated. Wouldn't let me report him for fraud. Because I needed him to think I was still that trusting wife who'd sign anything he put in front of me. The wife who'd never check his hidden accounts or track his little rendezvous with Miss Instagram influencer. Kendall's breath caught. Alina, what did you do? My screen filled with transaction records and account numbers. Let's just say Christian's about to learn that karma isn't just a spiritual concept. Sometimes it's a carefully orchestrated series of financial transactions. Holy shit, Kendall whispered. You're not just going to let him get away with this? Oh no, I said, pulling up another window showing a resort booking confirmation. I'm going to let him walk right into it. He thinks he's won because he emptied our joint account. He has no idea that was exactly what I wanted him to do. My phone pinged with another message from Christian. BTW, Sela says hi. She's so much younger than you. Maybe try some anti-aging cream with all that free time you'll have now. I'm going to kill him, Kendall growled. No need for violence, I said, typing in my password to access the offshore account records I'd discovered months ago. Sometimes the best revenge is letting someone think they've won, right until the moment they realize they've lost everything. My computer chimed with an email notification from Reese, the lawyer Christian had screwed over last year in a shady deal. The subject line read, "Everything's ready." Kendall, I said, remember how Mom always told us to smile and stay quiet when men misbehaved? Don't remind me. Well, I've been smiling for months, but starting today, I'm done being quiet. I opened Reese's email and felt a wave of satisfaction wash over me. Everything was falling into place exactly as planned. Christian thought he was flying to paradise with his mistress, but he was actually heading straight into a trap I'd spent months setting. I have to go, I told Kendall. There's a few more pieces to move into place before their plane lands. You're scary when you're strategic, you know that? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. No, sister, I'm scary when I'm underestimated. As I hung up, another text from Christian arrived. Boarding now. Don't wait up, or do. Not like you have anywhere else to be. I opened my calendar and set a reminder for exactly 12 hours later. By then, Christian would understand exactly what happens when you mistake patience for weakness. The first solid proof of Christian's affair wasn't the late nights or the mysterious receipts. It was a single gold hoop earring I found wedged between our living room couch cushions 3 months ago. An earring I'd never owned, with a distinctive designer marking I'd later spot in sellers' Instagram photos. I was vacuuming when I found it, and I remember standing there holding that tiny piece of jewelry like it was a live grenade. The vacuum hummed in the background as my world shifted on its axis. That night, Christian came home late again. I was sitting in the kitchen, laptop open, pretending to work. "Another successful meeting?" I asked, keeping my voice light. "You know how it is, baby. These investors need constant attention." He kissed my cheek, and I caught a whiff of unfamiliar perfume. "You didn't wait up for dinner, did you?" "No, I ate earlier." I held up my coffee mug. "Just finishing some reports." He headed upstairs, and I opened my browser to the banking app. Sure enough, there was a charge from La Maison, an upscale French restaurant downtown. I'd never eaten there, but according to their Instagram, they had excellent mood lighting and private booths. The next morning, I called Kendall. "I need you to meet me for coffee, now." 20 minutes later, we sat in a corner booth at our favorite cafe, away from other customers. "Show me again," Kendall said, examining the photo on my phone, a screenshot from Sella's Instagram story showing her at La Maison wearing both gold hoop earrings. "She's not even trying to hide it," I said. "Look at the timestamp. Same night, same restaurant." "That arrogant piece of—" Kendall stopped herself, taking a deep breath. "What are you going to do? First, I need you to promise you won't confront him." "Why the hell not?" I leaned forward. "Because I'm done playing the role of the naive wife. Remember last year's investment with his cousin? The one that disappeared? Yeah, you should have reported his ass then. I did something else instead." I pulled out my tablet and opened a secure folder. "I hired a private investigator to track the money. Turns out Christian has an offshore account in the Cayman Islands. He's been siphoning money there for years." Kendall's eyes widened. "Holy shit, Alina. It gets better. Last week he had me sign what he said were investment documents. They were actually papers giving him full access to our joint savings. He thought he was being clever." "And you just signed them? Are you crazy?" I smiled. "I signed them because I'd already moved most of our money to a new account in my name only. What he stole this morning was exactly what I wanted him to take." Just then, my phone buzzed with an email from Reese. I showed it to Kendall. "Who's Reese?" she asked. "A lawyer Christian screwed over last year. Turns out I'm not the only one he's betrayed. Reese has been helping me build a case." "A case for what?" "Financial fraud, for starters, but more importantly—" I pulled up another document. "Remember that luxury resort Christian's flying to? I made sure their fraud department got an anonymous tip about suspicious activity on his accounts." Kendall stared at me. "When did you become this devious?" "I learned from the best." I took a sip of my coffee. "Christian thinks he's won because he took what was in our joint account. But that account was bait. The real money, it's safe. And his offshore account? Let's just say it's about to have some issues with international banking regulations." My phone chimed with another text from Christian. "Just landed. Paradise awaits. Hope you're not too lonely in that big empty house." "I want to punch that emoji right off his phone," Kendall growled. "Violence isn't necessary," I said, checking my watch. "In about 6 hours, he's going to try to check into that resort, and that's when everything starts falling apart." "What do you mean?" "Let's just say the resort has some very strict policies about fraud, and Christian's about to trigger every red flag in their system." Kendall reached across the table and grabbed my hand. "Listen, I know I've given you grief over the years for being too passive, too willing to keep the peace, but this is absolutely beautiful." I squeezed her hand back. Sometimes the quiet ones are the most dangerous. We see everything, we remember everything, and when we finally move, we don't miss. My phone lit up with another email notification. This one was from the resort's manager, Joey, confirming everything was in place. "It's starting," I said, showing Kendall the message. "Want to stick around for the show?" She grinned. "Wouldn't miss it for the world." I opened my laptop and pulled up the resort's security camera feed. Soon, very soon, Christian would learn that his perfect getaway was about to become his perfect nightmare. "Walk me through it again," Reese said, his voice crisp through my phone's speaker as I paced my home office. "I want to make sure every detail is perfect." I clicked through the documents on my screen. 3 months ago, I started moving small amounts from our joint account to my private one. Nothing suspicious, just enough to build a safety net. And Christian never noticed. He was too busy with Sella to check the statements. Besides, he thought I was still the same woman who believed his business dinner excuses. My laptop pinged with a notification. The resort's security feed showed Christian and Sella walking through the lobby, his arm around her waist. She was wearing a white sundress that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. "They've arrived," I said. "Right on schedule." Reese chuckled. "Time to see if those stilettos can walk on quicksand." I'd met Reese for coffee 2 months ago after discovering his name in some old emails of Christian's. The story he told me about how Christian had sabotaged his career made my blood boil. "The thing about your husband," Reese had said, stirring his Americano, "is that he thinks he's the smartest person in every room. That's his weakness." We'd spent weeks planning this moment. Every detail had to be perfect. "Joey's in position," I said, watching the resort manager approach Christian at the check-in desk. "Here we go." Through the security feed, I could see Joey's professional smile as he typed on his computer. Even without audio, I could read his lips. "I'm sorry, sir, but there seems to be a problem with your payment." Christian's confident posture stiffened. He pulled out his wallet, probably reaching for another card. My phone buzzed with a text from Kendall. "Are you watching this?" "Front row seats," I replied. On screen, Joey was shaking his head apologetically. All of Christian's cards were being declined, a side effect of the fraud alert Reese had helped me file. "The best part," Reese said, "is that he can't even access his offshore account. The bank's compliance department is having a field day with those transactions you flagged." I watched Sella's face transform from confusion to anger. She pulled out her own phone, probably trying to book a different hotel, only to find her linked card, the one Christian had given her, was also declined. "Should we tell them about the reservation under your name?" Reese asked. "Not yet. Let them sweat a little more." On screen, Christian was becoming increasingly agitated. He stepped away from the desk, phone pressed to his ear, probably trying to reach his bank. "Good luck with that," I murmured. "Financial fraud investigations can take days to resolve." My phone lit up with Christian's face. Decline. Another text from Kendall. "He just tried calling me. Told him to go to hell." I smiled. Perfect. The security feed showed Sella storming off toward the bar, leaving Christian alone at the check-in desk. His perfectly tailored suit suddenly looked wrinkled and sad. "Ready for the coup de grace?" Reese asked. I took a deep breath. "Do it." Moments later, Joey's phone rang. He answered it, nodded, then approached Christian again. I could imagine the conversation. "Sir, I've just been informed that this suite is actually reserved for an Alina Santos. She's arriving later today. Would you like me to help you find alternative accommodations?" Christian's face went from red to white in seconds. He grabbed his phone again, probably to check his banking app. "How long before he realizes," I asked Reese, "that all his accounts are frozen pending investigation?" "Probably right about now." On screen, Christian stumbled backward, finding a lobby chair to collapse into. Sella was at the bar, gesturing animatedly to someone on her phone. My laptop pinged with an email from Joey. "Everything proceeding as planned. Ms. Santos, Your suite will be ready for your arrival. I forwarded it to Kendall, who immediately replied, You're my hero. Seriously. Another call from Christian. This time, I answered, Having trouble with your cards, darling? I kept my voice sweet. Alina, what did you do? Me? I'm just on my way to enjoy that luxury resort we always dreamed of. Though I hear the check-in process can be quite strict about fraud. You can't. Actually, I can, and I did. Say hi to Sella for me. Oh, and honey, those investment documents you had me sign last week, you might want to read the fine print. I hung up as Reese laughed. That was beautiful. On screen, Sella was now yelling at Christian in the lobby, her perfectly curated influencer image cracking under the weight of reality. Time to pack, I told Reese. My flight leaves in 3 hours. Give him hell, he said before hanging up. I watched the security feed one last time. Christian, the man who thought he'd orchestrated the perfect escape, was about to learn a valuable lesson about underestimating the quiet ones. My phone buzzed with a text from the airline. Your first-class upgrade has been confirmed. Perfect. My mother's house hadn't changed in 20 years. Same pristine white furniture, same carefully arranged flowers, same suffocating atmosphere of perfection. I stood on her doorstep wondering why I'd come. Kendall's words echoed in my head. You don't owe her an explanation. But here I was anyway. Evangeline opened the door, perfectly coiffed as always. Alina, what a surprise. Hello, Mother. She led me to her immaculate living room where nothing was ever out of place, including her emotions. I heard about Christian's indiscretion. Such a shame. Tea? No, thank you. I sat on the edge of the sofa, the same spot where I'd sat at 16, being lectured about maintaining appearances. I assume you've heard what happened at the resort. She poured herself a cup, her movements precise. It's all over social media. That girl, Sella, is it? She's been quite vocal, rather tasteless if you ask me. And what about what Christian did? Is that tasteless too? Darling, she sighed, men stray. It's how we handle it that defines us as women. The familiar rage bubbled up, the same one I'd felt watching her ignore my father's affairs years ago. Like you handled it with Dad? Her teacup clinked sharply against its saucer. We don't discuss your father. Of course not, just like we don't discuss how you taught us to smile through betrayal, to keep quiet when men hurt us. I taught you dignity. No, I stood up, my voice steady. You taught us shame. You taught us to value appearance over self-respect. My phone buzzed, another frantic message from Christian. I showed it to her. Please, baby, I'm sorry. I'll do anything. They're saying I might face fraud charges. You see? She gestured at the phone. He's suffering enough. Show some grace. I laughed, a sharp sound in the perfect room. Grace? Like when you told Kendall to be understanding when her college boyfriend cheated? Or when you said I should be grateful Christian married me despite my plain looks? I was trying to protect you both. No, you were teaching us to accept cruelty as love. The doorbell rang. Evangeline frowned. Are you expecting someone? That would be Kendall. My sister burst in without waiting for an invitation, her energy crackling through the sterile space. Thought I'd find you here. Mom, your garden looks dead. It's winter, Kendall. Everything looks dead. Not everything, Kendall dropped onto the sofa. Alina's looking pretty alive these days. Evangeline's lips tightened. Your sister is making a spectacle of herself. Actually, I pulled out my tablet, showing her the news article about Christian's company being investigated. I'm making him face consequences, something you never taught us about. This revenge, it's beneath you. No, Mother. What's beneath me is letting another man think he can treat me like garbage while I smile and serve tea. My phone rang. Reese. Sorry to interrupt, he said when I answered, But you need to see this. Christian just tried to access his emergency accounts. All frozen. He's completely cut off. I put the phone on speaker. Thank you, Reese. Anything else? Yeah, Sella's gone viral. She's doing a live stream about being deceived by a fraud. It's not flattering to Christian. Kendall grinned. Send me the link. After I hung up, Evangeline stood, smoothing her perfect skirt. What do you hope to achieve with all this drama? Justice, Kendall answered for me. Something this family's been afraid of for generations. I walked to the window, looking at the manicured garden. You know what I remember most about childhood, Mother? The silence. The way we all pretended everything was fine while Dad destroyed you piece by piece. I maintained my dignity. No, I turned to face her. You maintained your prison, and you tried to lock us in it too. Kendall joined me at the window, but we broke out. Evangeline's perfect composure cracked just slightly. You'll regret this public display, both of you. Maybe, I said, gathering my things, but I'd regret silence more. My phone buzzed again, a message from Joey at the resort. Your suite is ready, Ms. Santos. And yes, we made sure it's the one with the best view. Come on, Kendall tugged my arm. Your flight's in 2 hours. At the door, I turned back one last time. Mother, I love you, but I won't be you, not anymore. She stood in her perfect room, surrounded by her perfect things, looking suddenly small. What will people say? They'll say your daughter finally found her voice, Kendall answered. And it's loud as hell. Outside, the winter air felt clean and sharp. Kendall hugged me tight. You okay? I looked back at the house, at all the carefully maintained appearances, at the legacy of silence I was finally breaking. Actually, I smiled, I'm perfect. Through the resort's security feed on my laptop, I watched Christian pace the lobby like a caged animal. 6 hours had passed since his cards were declined, and his perfectly styled hair was now a disheveled mess. Sella sat at the bar, alternating between angry phone calls and furious typing on her phone. Ms. Santos! The flight attendant's voice pulled me back to reality. We're beginning our descent. Would you like another champagne? No, thank you. I closed my laptop and looked out the window at the paradise below. I think I'll save the celebration for later. My phone lit up with a message from Joey. They're still here. She's been live streaming for the past hour. Security is on standby. I typed back, don't remove them yet. I want to make an entrance. The plane landed smoothly, and as I walked through the terminal, another text came through, this time from Reese. His company's board just called an emergency meeting. Turns out they don't appreciate their CEO being accused of fraud on social media. Perfect. The resort's car service was waiting for me, a sleek black SUV with tinted windows. As we approached the property, I could see its pristine beaches and infinity pools sparkling in the sunset. Ma'am, the driver said, Mr. Anderson asked me to inform you that your husband is still in the lobby. I smiled. He's not my husband anymore, and that's exactly where I want him. The SUV pulled up to the entrance. Through the tinted windows, I could see Christian jump to his feet as Joey approached him again. Sella was still at the bar, her makeup slightly smeared from hours of crying and raging. Ready? I texted Kendall. Born ready. Give him hell. I stepped out of the car, smoothing my white linen dress. The tropical breeze caught my hair as Joey rushed to greet me. Ms. Santos, welcome to Paradise Bay Resort. His voice carried just enough for Christian to hear. Your suite is ready, and as requested, we've upgraded you to our premium ocean view. Christian's face went from red to pale in seconds. Alina, I turned, acting surprised. Oh, Christian, you're still here? How awkward. Sella spun around on her bar stool, nearly falling off. You bitch. You planned this. Actually, I smiled, handing my passport to Joey, I just planned a lovely vacation. You're the ones who crashed it. Christian stepped forward, his designer shirt wrinkled and damp with sweat. Baby, please, we can talk about this. Sir, Joey interrupted, I must remind you that you're no longer a guest here. Security is on their way. You can't do this, Christian hissed at me. I built everything we have. I laughed, the sound echoing through the marble lobby. No, you stole everything we had. I'm just better at the game. Sela stormed over, her heels clicking angrily. Do you know who I am? I have 500,000 followers. Yes, and they're all watching you melt down in a resort lobby because your sugar daddy's cards got declined. Quite the content strategy. 2 security guards appeared, positioning themselves near Christian and Sela. This isn't over, Christian growled. I checked my phone, showing him the screen. Actually, it is. Your board just called an emergency meeting. Something about fraud allegations? Oh, and Reese says hi. His face crumpled as realization hit. Reese? You worked with Reese? Turns out I'm not the only one you underestimated. I turned to Joey. Is my suite ready? Of course, Ms. Santos, right this way. As we walked toward the elevator, Sela's voice rang out. You'll regret this. I'm going live right now to tell everyone what a vindictive— Please do, I interrupted, stepping into the elevator. My lawyers would love more evidence for the harassment case. The last thing I saw before the doors closed was Christian being escorted toward the exit, his perfect escape crumbling around him. In my suite, the one he'd promised to bring me to for years, I opened my laptop to find dozens of messages. Kendall had sent a string of celebratory emojis. Reese forwarded an email about the board meeting. Even my mother had texted, "This isn't what I meant by dignity." I walked to the balcony, watching the sun set over the ocean. Below, I could see Christian and Salah being escorted to a waiting taxi, their designer luggage wheeled behind them by security. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Christian. You've ruined everything. I typed back, No, darling. You did that all on your own. I just made sure you felt it. Then I ordered room service, drew a bath in the luxury tub, and prepared to enjoy every second of the vacation he'd always promised but never delivered. Sometimes karma needs a little help. And sometimes that help wears stilettos. The resort's cafe had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the beach, giving me a perfect view of the drama unfolding outside. Christian and Sela sat at a plastic table near the taxi stand, their designer luggage piled around them like fallen soldiers. They'd been there for 2 hours, arguing in increasingly loud whispers while other guests walked past, shooting them curious glances. My phone buzzed with Kendall's message. Tell me you're watching this train wreck. Front row seats, I replied, sipping my mimosa. Sela just went live again. I turned up the volume on my phone to hear Sela's latest Instagram story. I can't believe he lied to me. He said he was divorced, and now I'm stuck in paradise with no hotel, and his psycho wife is— Turn that off. Christian's voice carried through the window as he tried to grab her phone. Don't touch me, Sela shrieked, jumping up. You ruined everything. My followers trusted me to promote this resort. Joey appeared at my table, looking concerned. Ms. Santos, would you like me to have security remove them from the property? Not yet, I smiled. I'm rather enjoying the show. My phone rang. It was Reese. You need to see this, he said without preamble. Christian just tried to call an emergency board meeting to explain himself. It didn't go well. Define didn't go well. They voted to suspend him pending investigation. Turns out your evidence about the offshore accounts was very compelling. Outside, Sela was now pacing, her designer heels sinking into the sand. My agent is going to kill me. This was supposed to be a sponsored luxury getaway. Christian stood up, his face red. Baby, please just delete those posts. We can fix this. Fix this? She spun around, mascara streaking down her cheeks. My reputation is ruined. I trusted you. I couldn't help but laugh. Welcome to the club, sweetheart. My phone buzzed again, this time with a message from Christian's mother. What have you done to my son? I showed the message to Joey, who had stayed nearby. Funny how they always blame the wife, isn't it? Very funny, he agreed, then lowered his voice. Security says they've received noise complaints about their arguing. Should we give them 5 more minutes? I want to see how this plays out. Outside, Christian was now desperately dialing numbers on his phone. I watched as he called his mother, his voice carrying through the window. "Mom, please, I need you to wire me some money. Just enough for a hotel." Even from here, I could hear her response. "You're just like your father, always expecting someone else to clean up your mess." He tried Kendall next. My sister later told me she answered just to say, "Karma's a bitch, isn't it?" before hanging up. Selah had moved to a separate bench, still filming. And girls, let this be a lesson. Always check public records before dating a man. I can't believe I fell for his lies. Like and subscribe for the full story. "She's actually turning this into content," I texted Kendall. "Influencer's gonna influence," she replied. Christian made one last desperate attempt. He called Evangeline. I couldn't hear her exact words, but his face told the story. When he hung up, he looked utterly defeated. "What did she say?" Selah demanded. She said I deserved this." My mother finally speaking truth instead of maintaining appearances. Will wonders never cease? Joey returned to my table. "Ms. Santos, I hate to interrupt, but we've received more complaints, and Miss Ortiz's latest live stream is rather unflattering to the resort." I nodded, finishing my mimosa. "You're right. Time to end the show." 2 security guards approached Christian and Selah. Even through the thick windows, I could hear their protests. "But where are we supposed to go?" Selah wailed. "There's a budget hotel in town," one guard suggested helpfully, "about 30 minutes by taxi." I watched as they gathered their luggage, Selah still filming, Christian looking like a man watching his world burn. As they loaded into the taxi, my phone lit up with one final message from him. "I'm sorry. Please. I'll do anything." I typed back, "Anything? Try living with the consequences of your actions. I heard the budget hotel has great Wi-Fi, perfect for watching your life fall apart in real time." Then I blocked his number. Joey appeared with another mimosa. "Compliments of the house, Ms. Santos. We don't usually enjoy drama, but sometimes karma needs an audience." He smiled. "Exactly." I raised my glass to the departing taxi, watching it disappear into the distance. Somewhere in that vehicle, Christian was finally learning what it felt like to be the one left behind, and I had a front row seat to watch it all unfold. The resort spa smelled of lavender and victory. I lay on the massage table, finally allowing myself to relax as the therapist worked out 10 years of tension from my shoulders. "Your phone's been buzzing," she mentioned softly. "Would you like to check it?" "No need," I murmured. "The world can wait." But when the massage ended, curiosity got the better of me. I wrapped myself in the plush robe and checked my notifications. Kendall had sent a series of links. Breaking: CEO suspended amid fraud allegations. Influencer exposes married boyfriend's double life. Paradise lost, inside the viral resort scandal. And then there were the voicemails. 6 from Christian, each more desperate than the last. I played the most recent one on speaker. "Alina, please." His voice cracked. "They're freezing all my accounts. The board, they're talking about pressing charges. I can't even afford a flight home. Baby, I know I messed up, but please, I need help." The spa attendant, who couldn't help overhearing, raised an eyebrow. "Sounds like someone's having a bad day." "The worst," I smiled, deleting the voicemail. "Cucumber water?" My phone rang again, Reese this time. "You're supposed to be relaxing," he chided. "I am, just catching up on the fallout." "How bad is it?" "Remember when you said you wanted him to lose everything? Mission accomplished. The board's audit revealed years of financial misconduct. They're cooperating fully with authorities." I sipped my water. And Salah? Her latest video has 3 million views. She's rebranding herself as an advocate for women deceived by wealthy men. Pretty clever, actually. Speaking of clever, I said, thank you for everything. Hey, watching Christian fall was payment enough, though I hear the budget hotel he's staying at has a lovely view of the dumpsters. After hanging up, I headed to the infinity pool, the same one Christian had shown me in photos, promising to bring me here someday. The irony wasn't lost on me. Joey approached with a tablet. Ms. Santos, you might want to see this. It was security footage from the budget hotel. Christian and Sela were having another public argument in the lobby. She was waving her phone, showing him something on screen. Turn up the volume, I requested. Can't believe you lied about the divorce papers. Sayla's voice crackled through the speakers. Do you know what this is doing to my brand? Baby, please, Christian begged. We can fix this. Once I get access to my accounts. Your accounts? She laughed hysterically. Your wife cleaned you out. God, I feel so stupid. I'm turning this whole thing into a documentary. My followers deserve to know the truth. She stormed off, leaving Christian alone in the lobby. He slumped into a chair, pulled out his phone, and dialed again. Another voicemail? Joey asked. I checked my phone. Sure enough. Alina, I understand now. What I did, how it felt. Please call me back. I'll sign whatever you want. Just make this stop. Should I block his number? Joey offered. No, I said, settling into a lounger by the pool. Let him keep calling. Sometimes healing comes from hearing someone break. My phone buzzed with a text from Kendall. Mom just called. She wants to know if you're coming to Sunday dinner when you're back. Tell her yes, I replied, but I'm done pretending everything's fine. Good, she texted back, because I already told her therapy is non-negotiable if she wants both her daughters in her life. I looked out over the ocean, watching the sun paint the water gold. A year ago, I was the perfect wife, swallowing my suspicions with practiced smiles. Now I was the woman who brought a man's empire down without throwing a single punch. Joey appeared with a sunset cocktail. Compliments of the staff. We've never had quite this much excitement. Sorry about that. Don't be. Miss Ortiz's videos have actually increased our bookings. Apparently everyone loves a good revenge story. My phone lit up with one final notification, an email from Reese. Board meeting concluded. Christian's officially out. The authorities want to talk to you when you're back. Don't worry, everything's documented. Enjoy paradise. You've earned it. I raised my glass to the setting sun, thinking about karma and consequences, about silence and strength. Somewhere in a budget hotel room, Christian was learning what it felt like to lose everything. But here I was in the paradise he'd promised, enjoying the view he'd never see. More cucumber water? The attendant asked. Yes, I smiled, and keep them coming. I plan to enjoy every second of this victory. The coffee shop where Kendall and I first plotted revenge now felt different, warmer somehow. We sat in our usual corner booth, but this time I wasn't hiding tears behind my cup. Have you seen Sela's documentary trailer? Kendall asked, sliding her phone across the table. I pressed play. Sela, perfectly lit and expertly made up, stared soulfully into the camera. I thought I found love with a wealthy CEO. Instead, I became part of his wife's masterclass in revenge. She's really milking this, I laughed. Can you blame her? She's got a book deal now. Scammed in Paradise, a cautionary tale. My phone buzzed. Reese calling with an update. The plea deal's final, he said. Christian's looking at 18 months, plus restitution. His lawyer tried arguing for house arrest, but apparently the judge follows Sela's Instagram. Karma's got a sense of humor, I said. After hanging up, Kendall leaned forward. Speaking of karma, are you ready for Sunday dinner? I took a deep breath. As ready as I'll ever be. The drive to our mother's house felt shorter than usual. Evangeline opened the door before we knocked, her perfect posture slightly less rigid than before. "Girls," she said, stepping aside, "I ordered takeout." Kendall and I exchanged shocked looks. Our mother, who'd never allowed anything less than a home-cooked meal, had ordered pizza. "Who are you and what have you done with our mother?" Kendall asked. "Sit," Evangeline said, gesturing to the living room. "We need to talk." The white furniture hadn't changed, but something else had. Maybe it was the way our mother's hands trembled slightly as she served paper plates. Paper plates. Or how she'd left her hair naturally grey instead of perfectly dyed. "I've been seeing someone," she said abruptly. "Mom." Kendall nearly choked on her pizza. "Like, dating?" "No." Evangeline smiled faintly. "A therapist. After everything that happened with Christian, I've been thinking about your father, about the examples I set." I set down my plate. "Mom, let me finish." She straightened a napkin that didn't need straightening. "I taught you both to swallow poison and call it grace. I was wrong." Kendall reached for my hand under the table. "When you exposed Christian," Evangeline continued, "I was horrified, not because of what you did, but because you had the courage I never found." My phone buzzed. Another news alert about Christian's case. I ignored it. "I'm not good at this," our mother admitted. "Feelings, truth. But I'm learning. And She paused, searching for words. "I'm proud of you both." "Even though I caused a scandal?" I asked. "Because you caused a scandal. Because you chose truth over appearances." Kendall wiped her eyes. "Okay, who else is emotional over pizza and therapy talk?" The doorbell rang. We all jumped. "That would be Reese," I said. "I hope it's okay that I invited him." Evangeline smoothed her shirt. "Is he the lawyer who helped take down Christian?" "Among other things," she nodded. "Then he's welcome here." Reese entered carrying wine and case files. "Ladies," he smiled. "I come bearing gifts. The final paperwork from Christian's plea deal and a very nice Merlot." "Pour the wine first," Kendall demanded. "Then we can talk justice." As Reese distributed glasses, my phone lit up with one last text from Christian. "I report to prison tomorrow. I understand now what I destroyed. Not just money or marriage, but trust. I'm sorry." For the first time, I believed him. But belief wasn't forgiveness, and forgiveness wasn't what this story was about. "To karma," Reese raised his glass. "To truth," Evangeline added softly. "To burning it all down and building something better." Kendall grinned. I looked around the room, at my sister's fierce pride, my mother's tentative growth, Reese's quiet strength, and raised my own glass. "To us," I said, "the ones who stopped swallowing poison." Later, as we reviewed the case files showing every detail of Christian's downfall, I realized something. Revenge hadn't just exposed his lies, it had shattered our family's legacy of silence. In its place, we were building something new, a foundation of truth, messy and real, and absolutely perfect. My phone buzzed one final time. Selah posting another trailer clip. "Sometimes losing everything shows you what you never had." I smiled and turned off my phone. Selah could have the spotlight. I had something better. A family learning to speak, a mother learning to change, and a future unburdened by other people's lies. "More wine?" Reese offered. "Yes," I said. "We've got a lot more truth to tell."